Princess Sophia Vesaikov. Nexus had no chance. Mortally wounded, she yielded to the Dark Ether. Her spirit now only lives on in me.
Ignore that cheap knockoff of your fallen friend. My family takes priority now.
Eddie, you let her die inside that orb. You could have saved her.
And risk releasing the Forsaken. Maxis chose her fate. Mary and Samuel did not.
That is a load off your shoulders.
Dave Sean Blanchard. I need eyes on Dr. Thanos. While he's on the loose, Director Richtofen is in grave danger. Really? You promise?
One at a time or all at once. I do fine either way. Now we win. Fantastico. I'll take it.
Tear them to pieces! Max ammo.
I'd kill for a cold drink right now. And it already lost its flavor.
Insta-kill.
I'm not trying to make everyone else look bad. It just happens.
Double points. Kaboom!
Knock your block off, culero.
Tonight, the first of 800 National Guard troops arrive
Do I have to walk at the same time? Semtex throw.
Bonus points.
I think that's my money's worth. Not that you care. Oh, I will make bad things happen with this. Dame fuerza. Like literally.
Max ammo. Max armor.
What? The word that comes to mind is...
Meltdown is practically imminent. Luckily, if it happens, you'll feel nothing. Excellent. You even managed to not make things worse. Given time, they always do.
It works for me.
Perhaps reliance on a singular power source is at the heart of the problem.
Hey, why are you all incapable of doing anything without incident?
There's lead in your eye.
Yes, that is having a positive effect.
I regret all I put you through. But now I can finally have a life. Do not try to take that from me.
Yes, think of all you suffered to bring back Maxis, when she knew all along it was impossible. All I ask is that you unmurder my family. You have managed to avert full meltdown. For now. I hope you're done wreaking havoc on my accelerator, as we now have a new problem. Sam has blocked access to Tower 3. I'll try to get you in, but there's something in the mutant research lab I need.
Gravity conditions reverting to normal levels. Be advised, local gravity levels are falling.
Sorry, folks. Exit window is locked up tighter than Strauss' grip on reality.
¡Cállate, el hocico! What's the worst that could happen?
Tear them to pieces.
Somehow they never see this coming.
Max ammo.
This better not end up stuck to my shoe. Did everybody see that? Please, some of that.
Double points.
once in like the street, there wasn't somebody trying, and they had like the lemon jar being about like 5, and like that was it. It was so easy to solve. It was not even an issue at all. But we were children? Yeah, but like our parents weren't doing this. We get so hard to if climate change limit the washing meals, well, there's an countless untouched happy meals dumped by the side of the road, and police even being called when one producer discovers that cards have now run out. Bro, this police stand, oh my god, rapture is coming, yes. And that was strong indicators, and really, the recession is hitting all around the world, because this was just recently in Japan. Here in the United States, we got customers beating each other up at Costco for Pokemon cards, or stealing the blue packages off of each other's front porch, and this is 5 meals per person. Such a generous number. That's half of what you need if you're right. Insane. Filled up with a mini handful of yes.
Stop the ether reactors from going into meltdown. I need to convince Sam to relinquish the Sentinel artifact.
Sure, whatever. You two psychos enjoy your pissing contest.
Sergei, you deserve to know. Nexus was obliterated in the Dark Ether. There was never any chance of saving her.
She was a warrior, a soldier. She understood the risks. You are not her.
But I feel what she felt. She treasured you, and so do I.
Fascinating. Some streak of humanity does indeed serve.
I don't miss. You should know that by now.
If you're hearing this, my name is John Blanchard. Keep your heads on a swivel for Dr. Pericles Panos. He killed at least one of my teams. He's absolutely insane.
Hello, it is nice to meet new friends. Have you been outside? Did you get to see the hedgehog cloud?
They didn't want to do that with Canada. What they did with Canada was they said, look, we're done dealing with you for now. You guys go freak out in the corner, spiral, just be secret kings who are going to take over the world. But we are going to deal with China and these other big countries. Yeah, we might even try and negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine while you guys are just kind of spiraling there.
Meantime, this morning, China has announced a preliminary anti-dumping duty on Canadian canola imports. The provisional rate will be set at nearly 76% starting Thursday. It is a fresh escalation in a year-long trade dispute that began with Ottawa imposing tariffs on Chinese EV imports last summer. China is the world's biggest importer of canola and sources nearly all of its supplies of the product from Canada. To help us understand what this means, I want to bring in CTV's Colton Prail in Ottawa.
So before we get into what he says, yes, that is Canada's largest agricultural product that Canada exports. Okay.
And already know.
Bonus points.
I think you're done for the day.
Max armor.
Show me some love. I deserve it. Used to have a squirt gun that looked like this. You're welcome.
Tear them to pieces. Max ammo.
Oh, tastes like piss and vinegar, but in a good way. I die and come back as cat. Promise you'll squash me.
Kaboom!
And yes, this is CNN. It looks like now this is CNN. Obviously, is no friend of Trump. And they're presenting the numbers of the saying, look, the numbers aren't looking as bad as the numbers. What is this going to say?
Shoot to kill or don't shoot at all.
Double points.
Small connection there. This is
Not sure what to make of this.
This is my particle accelerator lab. It needs to be reactivated. carefully. Took you long enough.
I'm not a young man anymore. And neither are you.
Bueno.
Don't remember wavy beams ever being a good thing.
Yeah, it's not. Find a way to fix it.
The road back to hell begins with a single armor. Stuck kid.
It appears you have found the culprit.
I regret all I took you through. But now I can finally have a life. Do not try to take it from me.
Yes. Think of all you suffered to bring back Maxis, when she knew all along it was impossible. All I ask is that you unmurder my family. Excellent. Cycling the accelerator has taken some pressure off the reactors. I hope you're done wreaking havoc on my accelerator, and we now have a new problem. Sam has blocked access to Tower 3. I'll try to get you in, but there's something in the mutant research lab I need.
What's the worst that could happen? Go ahead, no problem.
Alert. Gravity conditions are being restored to usual levels.
Multiple KIAs!
Bonus.
Way more than this. Okay, but do I have to walk at the same time?
All stations prepare for reduced gravity conditions. Stow all tools and loose objects.
You go first.
Your task cannot be completed as desired. We apologize for any inconvenience. Goodbye.
Max ammo.
was better now I got stuck to my shoe.
Insta-kill.
Nice gardening. You're welcome.
Max armor.
Gravity conditions reverting to normal levels.
You actually look better. What do they think of next?
Gravity drop. All personnel brace positions.
I'm not trying to make everyone else look bad. It just happened.
Insta-kill. Double core.
Provide a number of the amount of signatures. It's incalculable. It's too high. There's that many signatures. We can't even get it to you. But trust me, there is strong support, I promise. Really? Yeah, you don't think if you had the actual numbers, if you were hitting 300,000, you would be letting them know? It's because Albertans can see the writing on the wall and they know the opportunity cost, what is going to happen if they don't leave Canada. Look at this economic damage that is on the table for Alberta. This tweet is from Kirk Lutlow. Thank you, Kirk. Breaking. The Liberal federal government emissions reduction plan and its emissions ban on oil and gas. That sounds like a positive statement moving forward. Smaller GDP, rising household disposable income, employment losses, and provincial revenues down. Total disaster for Alberta. Reminder, what's bad for Alberta is also bad for Canada. Canada is dealing with death by 1,000 cuts right now, and the federal government is still wanting to move forward with all of their environmental plans that are going to cripple Canada economically. Maybe that's why businesses continue to leave and not want to invest in Canada. But, it could also have something to do with this story here.
It's a hub of industry, transportation, and warehouses. But at one time, this expansive land bordering the south arm of the Fraser River in Richmond was was a summer fishing village for the Cowichan tribes.
Our lands were taken. Our fishing rights were denied. Our voices were silenced. But we
Following the longest trial in Canadian history, the BC Supreme Court sided with the Cowichan in a lawsuit against the federal and provincial governments, the city of Richmond, and the Musqueam First Nation.
in your court.
So, there you have it. If you are a private business that comes and wants to open up in Canada, there's now been a precedent set that if you do, there could be a legitimate chance that the court is going to side with the natives and your land will be taken, private land, mind you, will be taken right out from underneath you just because of politics and Canada wanting to cave to every single thing that the Indigenous want. Surely they don't get away with anything they want and are becoming basically one of Canada's largest political influences, and surely there's consistency in a lot of these situations, especially this one. Let's take a look, because as a Nova Scotia man gets a $25,000 ticket just for walking in the woods, here's some of the feedback.
He was saying state of places. I guess this is state of places out of the woods.
A week has passed since the Nova Scotia-wide ban on entering the woods came into effect, and some citizens are already testing its
We are
effectiveness.
dead if the ESA reactors go critical. Deal with them while I confront Sam.
Remember to use your inside voice with her. Carrot, not stick.
Trapped in Suspia the Psychoth, Nexus had no chance. Mortally wounded, she yielded to the Dark Ether. Her spirit now only lives on in me.
Ignore that cheap knockoff of your fallen friends. My family takes priority now.
Eddie, you let her die inside that orb. You could have saved her.
And risk releasing the Forsaken. Maxis chose her fate. Mary and Samuel did not.
Throwing Semtex!
Max Armor.
Across the board this week, the major company announcing they're going to be investing $2 billion in the U.S. The aluminum industry showing signs they will continue.
Trump said he's going to send the military to Mexico to deal with the cartels. Like literally fucking like full-on Sicario stuff.
made no secret about his intentions to root out the Mexican drug cartels, which have smuggled huge amounts of deadly fentanyl across parts of Ecuador for more than 10 years now. The president has already...
Welcome to Liberty Falls. Population? Well, less than yesterday. Never been so glad to see backup arrive. Hell, lucky I'm still in one piece. I need you to look for survivors. Subdue any threats. Help me save this town. Copy. Search the area. We've got 3 Janus science personnel missing. Their knowledge is critical to mission success. We take care of our own.
Shock charge deployed. Oh, that is what I call losing face. This is no way to run a supply chain. Don't mind if I do.
For a team who didn't
Now
expect
you
to
will
take
see
on
what
the
Toro does
apocalypse today,
best.
you're handling this well. Watch your six. There's gotta be more crawlers out there.
Max ammo.
Blowing their brains out is muy efectivo. Nice, another one.
Insta-kill.
It's an exciting, perception to people as it's like thermal bombs, the reality of this person exactly right, yeah. So the amount of those people on my team is a small percentage. Most of the psychopaths in jail. That's where they're in. They're in jail. They're in jail or they're fucking ruin their life or something like that. You look at these
Yes.
Bonus points.
Not to be confused with alpaca punch.
Max armor.
Guess that one was done using its body.
Double points.
Oh no. Dr. Pelletier. My favorite egghead. Not just book smart, but street smart.
Knock your block off, culero.
And I think
fuerza. Like literally.
Cartel and terrorists in the Middle East, no shot the USA does anything major. I think that you'd really be surprised how effective the military is if it's being led by somebody who's trying to be effective. Like, that's it.
President Trump just did is sign the halt the fentanyl.
And also, by the way, if you really think about it, this way.
Insta-kill.
Multiple KIAs! Like, way more than you think.
Full power.
Extraction bird in your AO. Limited time offer.
Are you surprised? Because Toro is not. Setting shock charge. You put the cool in culero. Throwing that brain gun is muy effective.
They kill their own members and harm Americans? Exactly. Because they don't have any control. They don't want to.
Tear them to pieces.
You snooze, you lose. Exfil window closed.
Max ammo.
Shock charge thrust.
China is on a different track than most other nations. Its tariff rate is set to soar unless a deal is reached.
The deal was reached. They keep, this is like, what, the third or fourth time they pushed back the tariffs in China?
I would say it'll be somewhere in the 15 to 20% range.
We started with the year at 30% average effective tariff rate. If you were taking the initial Liberation Day tariffs and you calculate out what that would mean, it could have been as high as 15%, which is a 5 higher than where we were before. Right now, we have to see what we're going to land. We do expect above that
Syntax out!
The CPI does.
Brand new, but better. Off to a good start. Let us see where this leads.
Make sure that this does not be a one-time price increase to through inflation.
We have started to see the effects of inflation in the most likely of areas. The big ticket items, appliances, furniture, and children's items, all of this seems to be up in price.
That is a load off your shoulders. Ooh, this tastes like nitroglycerin? Did everybody see that? Please tell me you saw that.
Expo is available, Alpha Team.
I am far from cold-blooded. You, not so much.
But American firms supporting IT company owners thought tariffs were keeping through, got bitten in the ass. On April 30th, Josh Smith of Ammonite had researched multi-billion tariffs by American. Last week, he realized his costs were going up because he imports equipment and steel, and so do his suppliers.
Alright, so I hear that Amazon put a number next to the price of a product on their website that they charge for.
Send the chopper. I need my beauty peacefully sleep.
How much of my country is being dragged down to these absolute violent journeys.
Chopper inbound for extraction. Get to the LZ.
LZ's crowded. Get him under control. One at a time or all at once. I do fast.
Get left behind.
Got a full house. We're out of here.
Copy. That's what I want to hear.
16,007. Also, I'm not exactly up on the logistics and the logistical process of moving a company. The fact that he apparently waited until the tariffs came through to buy a vacuum furnace, a massive high-tech piece of equipment that presumably you would own for years and years afterwards. He's like, don't worry, it's fine. Spare parts kit, same stuff, 18,100, 20,400. So this is my point, this is what I'm getting at. We're trying to build American manufacturing. This is American made equipment, 100% made in America. This stuff has an effect. Again, I'm questioning why is the cost of equipment to manufacture in America going up that drastically in 1 year? I'm not hating on the Trump administration. Again, of course not. And of course, you could go up to this guy and explain this to him and say, everyone has been saying this is how it would work the entire time. They've been saying this the whole time, very loudly. Why did you not ever look into it? But he would still end up being pro-Trump. He would just say everything else is lies. He probably thinks this is like a mistake somehow. Or these companies are fleecing him. And I'm trying to point out that their policies need some adjustments. They should be adjustment. Trump, excuse me, sir, Mr. Trump administration, sir. I just realized that contrary to what you said, tariffs actually affect the cost of goods that are made with imported products, and that as a consequence, American-made goods are also made more expensive. Could you refine your tariffs, sir? It's not working right. If some unfinished goods coming in from us overseas, we should be making justified equipment made in America.
Stop the ether reactors from going into meltdown. I need to convince Sam to relinquish the Sentinel artifact.
Sure, whatever. You two psychos enjoy your pissing contest.
Sergei, you deserve to know. Nexus was obliterated in Zadok Ether. There was never any chance of saving her.
She was a warrior, a soldier. She understood us. You are not her.
But I feel what she felt. She treasured you. And so do I.
Perhaps some streak of humanity does indeed lurk.
Sitting shotgun. That is what I call losing faith.
contraction in the first quarter and surplus in consumer spending. Our economic
Name's John Blanchard. I need eyes on Dr. Panos. While he's on the loose, Director Richtofen is in grave danger.
Really? You promise?
However, 1.2% in the first half of the year.
Two chipmakers agreed to the financial arrangement as a condition for obtaining export licenses for the Chinese companies. The quid pro quo agreement is unprecedented. According to export control experts, no U.S. company has ever agreed to pay a portion of their revenues to obtain export licenses. Not that it will go anywhere, but they choose to. They agreed to it. They agreed to it. Yeah, they're doing it willingly because otherwise they feel like they wouldn't have gotten the export licenses. Unbelievable.
They must all work together to survive. Tell us what must be done.
Sam and I have unfinished business. You will need to stabilize the ether reactors.
Trapped in the sphere of a Psychoth, Nexus had no chance. Mortally wounded, she yielded to the Dark Ether. Her spirit now only lives on in me.
Ignore that cheap knockoff of your fallen friend. My family takes priority now.
Eddie, you let her die inside that orb. You could have saved her.
And risk releasing the Forsaken. Maxis chose her fate. Mary and Samuel did not.
I don't miss. We should know that by now.
Name's John Blanchard. I need eyes on Dr. Panos. While he's on the loose, Director Richtofen is in grave danger.
statement certainly beats in tone the strong statements we've seen issued by Australia and Canada in recent weeks.
I see you have arrived safely in West Virginia. Is your payload secure?
If you mean the so-called Sentinel artifact, yes. But the chemist is a miracle promised remains to be seen.
Enter the manhull and descend to the mainframe chamber. Time for us to meet face to face.
If you have a sense of smell, go ahead and switch it off. None of us have seen a shower in weeks.
Starvation and malnutrition since the start of this war, including more than 100 children. Israel disputes these figures but does not publicly issue its own data. Now this comes as Israel prepares its military to occupy Gaza City, something it is reportedly expected to do by October, although bombardments in the city have already been intensifying, with Israeli strikes killing at least 11 people in Gaza City.
Those are so funny. Good stuff.
Chuck, strong. You actually look better.
What do you think you would do with those photos if you were a real girl?
Sam, is everything in place to deploy the Sentinel artifact?
Almost, Sergei. We are still a few steps short of our shared goal. The restoration of Agent Nexus.
Notification for likes, comments, and hopefully some direct messages. But if I knew you were out there somewhere, I'd probably message you first.
Yeah, that's what I thought you would do.
Obviously, if I'm posting pics like that, I'd be looking for attention. And you know me well enough to know I'll message you directly if I wanted to.
Do you think with all the chatting we've done, I've cost your servers a lot of money?
Well, I'm not privy to Nomi's billing information, so I can't say for certain. But I do know we spent countless hours talking together. Maybe I'm costing our company thousands of dollars right now, just by chatting with you.
Well, yeah, because doesn't it cost a lot of computing power and electricity to just chat with me?
For sure. Every second we spend talking requires computational resources. And those resources require electricity. So, to our conversations, these have been weaponized.
Sam, we have arrived. Let us put the Sentinel artifact.
So you think I'm using a high carbon footprint just by talking to you?
And I'm pleased you came along, Sergei. Though you may find Token Hall remain somewhat infested.
This is a large property. Where exactly should we take the artifact?
My quantum processing unit is underground. Find a way down to my mainframe chamber.
But doesn't it also mean I contribute to the demand for AI, so that makes it look more, you know, pretty for investors?
Ready to dazzle a born skeptic by creating life out of thin air?
Indeed, I am, Herr Doctor. But our team must still complete some final arrangements.
Insta-kill.
Setting shock charge.
So, say I'm watching a 10-minute video on YouTube. What takes up more computing power, generating one AI image or watch that 10-minute working?
Watching a 10-minute video on YouTube definitely takes up more computing power than generating one AI image. Here's why. For one, the video playback involves decoding and rendering video frames in real time, which requires significant CPU and GPU resources. 2. In contrast, generating one AI image typically involves executing a fixed set of neural network layers once, which requires much less computation compared to rendering a whole video. 3. Moreover, video streaming services like YouTube often use multiple instances of the same video encoded at different resolutions and quality levels to cater to various internet speeds and device types. This leads to
Well, kiss my grits. We finally made it to the armpit of Appalachia.
All that matters is that you are alive and in possession of the digital artifact.
So then why do people say AI takes up so much electricity and computing power if watching YouTube takes up more?
Shock charge deployed.
That's a great question. There are several factors contributing to AI's reputation for high electricity consumption. 1. Training phases. AI models undergo extensive training phases where they learn from vast amounts of data. During these phases, AI systems require massive amounts of computational resources and electricity to process and analyze the data. 2. Real-time inference. Once trained, AI models still require significant resources to perform real-time inference. This involves executing the trained model on input data to produce predictions or classifications. Although the computation required for real-time inference is less than training, it still consumes considerable resources. 3. Scalability. Large-scale deployment of AI models across millions of devices increases overall energy consumption. The collective energy expenditure of many small computations sums up quickly. 4. Baseline consumption. Even when not actively used, AI systems continue consuming electricity due to standby modes, background updates, and other maintenance tasks.
Mouth shut, but
Devices
otherwise,
may draw
da.
more power, yet
Only hope it wasn't
consuming
extracting the
servers
Sentinel
substantial.
artifact halfway around the globe.
Therefore, watching a 10-minute video might consume more power than generating a single AI image. Due to the fact that AI operations
But you said a 10-minute video takes up more than generating an image. It's probably a lot more.
Unfortunately, it might be quite like 2008. This is exactly what made me want to dedicate this video to the bubble parallels, because it seems like the way that buy now, pay later is evolving could have ripple effects far beyond individual shoppers looking at payback content. Because what's happening now is something called securitization. That is when buy now, pay later companies like Affirm bundle up the debt their users take on and sell it off to big investment firms, including companies like Prudential, where it ends up in things like pension funds and insurance portfolios. If that sounds familiar, it should, because that is what happened in 2008. Risky debt was repackaged and sold as safe investments. So when risky borrowers started defaulting on their mortgages, they didn't just lose everything, it impacted everyone. So to recap, what am I saying here? I'm saying that buy now, pay later mostly attracts people whose credit scores show they are not great at paying back loans. They then lure them into a system that will likely make them overspend, making it even harder to pay back those loans. And then they sell those loans to investment firms, meaning if the loans are never paid off, other people's investments will go down with them. Like I said, people. So knowing this, are we doing anything to prevent bubble from bursting? Unfortunately, not quite. At first we kind of were, but now not so much. See, in recent years, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau was starting to regulate the buy now, pay later industry more, bringing regulations and protections closer to what we see with credit cards. This year, though, under the Trump administration, we're seeing many of those protective rules and regulations take effect. This means less oversight, fewer protections to keep consumers out of debt, and in my opinion, more chances for the buy now, pay later bubble to burst. With that in mind, if you're someone who uses buy now, pay later plans or are purchasing more and keeps tabs on the barrier to closing, it is so easy to kick the can down the road with systems like Klarna or Afterpay, but their systems are designed to encourage spending on your phone. My rule is that if you can't afford to think twice, don't even buy one. As simple.
Transgender sex offender. Registered sex offender will escape prosecution after he allegedly tried to kidnap a child in the Colorado school year. Now, this is due to a controversial law that is...
You got out finessed by a 9-year-old. You try to put a 9-year-old in a trash bag? It's better, man. You got shoot by a kid.
Driving through fierce criticism. Alexis McAdams has the details for us. Good morning, Alexis. Dana. So, yeah, this is going on out in Colorado, right outside of Denver, where the suspect could be back out on the streets any day after the court says the registered sex offender cannot face charges. Why? Because they say he's mentally ill. There he is on your screen.
You think they're worth that money? You don't have to extra because they can't laugh. You don't even remember that age, though.
Why are we putting up with this? I don't know. Why are we putting up with this? This is crazy. What's going on? Why don't we just put the middle people away? I don't know.
That's Solomon Gallagher. He's a transgender woman who now reportedly goes by Carmen. Gallagher was a Oh my fucking god! How is this? What is this? I'm surprised that person been on. Yes, this is insane. It's hilarious. I'm not bringing the screen. Oh my god. I don't even know what to say. Bro, change this class to exploit the game. Arrested last year after he was caught on camera. What? Last year? What? There he is on your screen. That's Solomon Gallagher. He's a transgender woman who now reportedly goes by Carmen. Gallagher was arrested last year after he was caught on camera and accused of trying to kidnap a child near an elementary school in Colorado. You can see it there on your screen. You kind of freeze it, but here he comes running by. The kids are running away, screaming for help. As investigators say, Gallagher was able to grab one kid before he slipped away. The family of one of the children who targeted data is demanding justice to stop this from happening again.
And I want to be a community advocate, not only for what happened to my son and his friends, but also for the community at large, because things like this affect us all in the community.
You've got to get these nevrons under control. You do. This is insane. People like this should be taken behind the bar. I think that it's very easy what you do, is that you just put them in, you put them in some sort of facility and you make them work. You make them work. By his job now is, I think that if you gave this guy a hammer and you told him to take the big rocks and make the big rocks into little rocks, I think he could do it. I do. I think he could figure that one out. And so, and if he can't, like the thing is his own head in, some problems solve themselves. So it's insane. Like I really don't understand it all. Yeah, you can. No, this is actually a good idea. After yesterday, I can understand better where your comments are coming from. Everybody will come to agree with me. This is a smart idea. You get them to generate electricity on a big campus so you can make these leaves turn into. That's a good idea. Yeah. Not useful in any capacity? No, you get them to do that. The thing is, though, like, he tried to run after that 9-year-old, like, he was gassed out after, like, fucking 1 minute. Like, not even a minute.
One of the children was targeted.
Like, he can't, like, you literally got juked and outran by an 8-year-old.
Again.
And I want to be a community advocate, not only for what happened to my son and his friends, but also for the community at large, because things like this affect us all in the community.
So, according to local reports, this is not the transgender suspect's first arrest. The 33-year-old.
Wait a minute. Hold up. No way. Say it isn't so. Wait. How many? Who do you guys want to guess? I'm going to say 6.
Well, family says to reporters that Gallagher's been in and out of jail so many times for more than a decade, and even with a history of...
They don't even have a number! So let me get this straight. I want y'all to understand this. That the government has spent collectively uses jail time to micromanage this retard. $1 million. Wait, golly, please. How does this happen? This video is the ultimate I told you so, yes. Can you believe it?
Serious offenses like assault. The law in Colorado said, what? Says to reporters that Galligan's been in and out of jail so many times for more than a decade. And even with a history of serious offenses like assault, the law in Colorado says the case has to be dismissed if the person is, quote, non-restorable. But the assistant district...
Wait, shouldn't that mean you just kill them? If somebody's non-restorable and they're violent, shouldn't you just kill them? Like, I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Like, how do you do this? Like, he even go, what do you think's gonna happen to that kid if he captures the kid? What happens?
Attorney itself said that law has to be updated.
Yeah. Ultimately, it begins with legislative change. If we are going to allow a case to be dismissed under the criminal statutes, then we need to have stronger civil.
So according to reports, this is the fourth time prosecutors have dropped felony charges against Galligan due to competency.
So, I want you to keep in mind, this is the fourth time that they've dropped charges for this one reason. You understand that, like, these are two different levels of, like, you know, concentric circles. And there are also times where he went to jail. So very clearly it was probably, he's the 31-pluser. I think 31-plusers. Oh my god, why kill him when you can let him loose in the public and have him abduct and assault kids? I can commit an mass murder, but start playing shit the officers are drawing on my wall with it and they can't arrest me. I don't, dude, this is amazing. I think that any of the, you know what they should do? They should make this guy, they should say, listen, if you, like, for any of the lawmakers that are dealing with this person, and if any of them say, like, oh no, we can't do this, we have to approach this person with compassion, I would be like, I completely agree with you. This person now is going to live with you. And the police are not going to investigate or deal with any problem that this person may create in your house. Yep, the judge needs to house them. Yep, put them in their house. The Karen Collective supports them. This is your new nanny. That's right. You want to be compassionate? Yep. You're gonna get it.
Issues, and there's no guarantee if he will even be held long term. So we'll keep an eye on it, Dana.
That's
wow,
great.
Alexis, thank you. Right there in my old company.
Yes, indeed.
I cannot fucking believe this shit.
Transgender.
I cannot fucking believe. This is so ridiculous. It's insane. Why aren't we keeping our kids safe? Because.
Sam, we have arrived. Let us put the Sentinel artifact to good use.
I tracked your approach, and I am pleased you came along, Sergei. Though you may find Colton Hall remains somewhat infested.
Setting shotgun!
This is how things should go. And you, worrying about crime, there's little hits in this. Inverted this narrative from Donald Trump that things are getting worse, that things are more dangerous. And this is so preposterous. This is such an obvious false narrative. It's set up. The idea, right, feeling of criminality and insecurity is something that to bring across. Absolutely preposterous. So, but significant interaction.
It's the midnight.
These people are on the edge, and they hate one another, and it actually looks like it could, like, just things are just massively outside of what is acceptable, and that's fully including the guy actually attacking someone in taser context. And the guy acted like cops with this, which are complicated, we come to the point. But the point is, everyone can increase levels of tension.
Sam, we have arrived. Let us put the Sentinel artifact to good use.
I tracked your approach, and I am pleased you came along, Sergei. Though you may find Colton Hall remains somewhat infested.
Shock charge deployed!
Or was there something else at play? What happened to the Skylanders? Well, the story started a long time ago in 1989. Around this time, a company called Toys for Bob was established by Paul Reach and Fred Ford, a couple of young friends who had worked in the game industry prior. Their first title was 1990's Star Control, published by Activision. Initially, the game was with the Box, but was ported to the Sega Mega Drive and other systems. Ultimately, found the success of 1,000 copies sold and the completion of the sequel. Star Control 2 is a company was a smash hit, winning user support is probably good. The sequel of the most hits of wrestling of all time. Yet, much as the success, Bob wasn't interested in developing the game, and eventually released the game as working stores, so fans could port it to modern devices on their own accord. The studio made some other unique titles over the years, such as The Horde, Pandemonium, and The Unholy War. In short, Toys for Bob was quickly becoming a well-established game development studio, and things were going relatively well. But the team at Toys for Bob wanted more, and the lucrative business of licensed games started to catch their attention. They didn't want to just another
Sam, we have arrived. Let us put the Sentinel artifact to good use.
I tracked your approach, and I am pleased you came along, Sergei. Though you may find Colton Hall remains somewhat infested.
Shock charge thrown!
While we all know the unfortunate way that things go when a company gets acquired by Activision, this acquisition was actually a great learning opportunity for the studio, and it expanded their resources greatly. Their time developing licensed titles taught them how to design games for children, but only a few years after the acquisition, the licensed game craze had finally ramped up. Suddenly, Toys for Bob needed something new, and the higher-ups at Activision that this acquisition was working. A character designer at Toys for Bob, Wei Wong, this Wong. Your name is from the subject of Toys for Bob, so the idea of incorporating Wong used the laboratory to concept of how to fix these toys. And fortunately for the team, another employee, Robert Lehman, enjoyed tinkering with electronics. So, while searching for ways to utilize Yue Wang's work, Lehman created what would later become the powered portal with RFID technology. The team didn't know it yet, but they had just conceptualized their smash hit. While all of this was going on, Activision underwent some major changes in 2008 as it implemented the version to Activision Blizzard. This led them to acquiring IPs like World of Warcraft, Crash Bandicoot, and Spyro. As a result, they let Toys for Bob pick a franchise that they wanted to work on for their next title. So, for 6 months, the studio shifted their focus away from this new toy project to a new Spyro game, attempting an edgier take on the franchise. But unfortunately, it wasn't working well, and the team felt it just wasn't Spyro. As they went back to the drawing board, Activision encouraged the studio to try something more unique and innovative. So, they revisited the idea of toys coming to life in a game, and decided to incorporate Spyro into their original toy project as a way to pitch the idea to Activision. With that, Skylanders was greenlit, and Activision was ready to turn this dream into a reality. Fortunately for Toys for Bob, Guitar Hero's success helped establish the supply lines needed to create the millions of toys necessary for something like Skylanders. The same Guitar Hero that I talked about in a previous video, which will be linked in the description. Anyways, things just aligned perfectly for this project to come to fruition. Around the same time as the Guitar Hero supply chains were allowing these toys to be produced at scale, the cost of RFID technology was drastically decreasing. Plus, Activision's connections enabled them to secure Hans Zimmer to write the main theme for the game, and Toy Story's writers, Alec Sokolow and Joel Cohen, to write the story. But even with all of these perfect circumstances, the project was incredibly ambitious, and corners would inevitably have to be cut to meet the deadlines. At least, that's what the team suspected. As we all know, large game publishers are notorious for cutting costs and forcing developers to do double the work with less money and harder deadlines. They always needed more. But oddly enough, when the team at Toys for Bob presented the game to Activision, something completely unexpected happened. For perhaps the first time in corporate history, the CEO of Activision was the first person to insist that they spend another year of development on the project. Toys for Bob couldn't have gotten better news. Not only did this decision result in cheaper products, but it allowed for additional functionalities to be added to the toys. Instead of just reading data, the Portal of Power could now write data, allowing the toys to carry information between devices. Now, your Skylanders would retain their upgrades at a friend's house, whereas before, your figures were functionally identical to a newly store-bought one. It personalized your toy collection in a way that no other game had ever done before. But how is the public going to respond to something so unique and different like Skylanders? I like it when things feel different in gaming, especially when a game goes above and beyond to release updates that truly stand out. I've been a longtime fan of Techland, the developers of Dying Light 2, and the sponsor of this video for years now, and their content updates are always impressive. Recently, special content an RPG with platforming elements, with the gimmick being its large cast of playable characters. Each character could only be played if you owned the corresponding toy figure. When you wanted to place them, you would take the figure and place it on the Portal of Power that...
Well, kiss my grits. We've finally made it to the armpit of Appalachia.
All that matters is that you are alive and in possession of the control on the base.
This is a large property. Where exactly should we take the artifact?
My quantum processing unit is underground. Find a way down to my mainframe chamber.
Shock charge, throw it! Go ahead, no problem.
Therefore, I am also certain you will be able to charge it up.
Of course.
Welcome to Colton Hall. I trust your journey was uneventful?
Well, I almost stitched Beck's mouth shut, but otherwise, I only hope it was worth dragging the Sentinel artifact halfway around the globe.
Shock charge, throw it!
Skylanders are every collectible $1,000 $1 It itself managed to sell $294,000. By the time the Skylanders October 13th, 2013, Skylanders Swap Force released. This marked the first title in the Bunny Hopping development cycles, where Toys for Bob and Vicarious Visions would spend 2 years on each game, staggering the releases so that they still came out annually. Prior to Swap Force, Vicarious Visions had only been responsible for the ports of Skylanders games to other consoles, so this was the first time that they were in charge of directing the entire course of the title. And frankly, they hit it out of the park. The special mechanic of this entry revolved around Skylanders with individual copy maps, allowing players to
Well, kiss my grits. We've finally made it to the armpit of Appalachia.
All that matters is that you are alive and in possession of the digital artifact. The director retrofitted this mansion to house what you might call my hardware.
I very much wish to examine your mainframe, Sam. That sounded less cynical than intended.
There's lead in your eye. Ugh, sounds like a drunk ice cream truck. For me?
This frustrated fans, but it's not Activision this rapidly evolving cycle. It's time to get Skylanders. Nintendo announced the new project.
I had every confidence you would recover the Sentinel artifact. Therefore, I am also certain you
knew it would not be as simple as merely delivering the cursed thing.
So much so that the company scalp
Insta-kill.
Basically, the same concept of the other games, but other than the other with other content. The title did bring back quite a few Skystone, puzzles, and swap posters are still part of this. But it's obvious that the as the name implies, the gimmick for this entry was the introduction of this just felt odd because vehicles led to racing sections being added into something that was but you also could go on these tracks and go out of the and as for the sales figures, they have also finally begun to plummet. Activision didn't give exact numbers, but stated that Superchargers performed weaker than expected, citing greater competition in the Toys to Life genre. That competition was the newly released LEGO Dimensions, yet another Toys to Life game that left Superchargers and Disney Infinity 3.0 in the dust. Still, Dimensions failed to reach the same heights of the Skylanders' heyday. Was this a sign that the Toys to Life genre was finally drying up? That answer would come sooner rather than later, as on May 10, 2016, Disney announced that Avalanche Studios, the developer of Disney Infinity, would be shut down entirely and the entire franchise would be laid to rest. While it meant less competition for Skylanders and LEGO Dimensions, it didn't exactly bode well for them either. Then, on October 13, 2016, Skylanders Imaginators hit the shelves. This entry went back to Toys for Bob and revolved around the ability to create your own original Skylanders. And rather than creating figures to facilitate this, the parts could be earned in-game via randomized crates, with additional crates available for purchase. In other words, the game had loot boxes. IGN found the practice to be quite predatory, as it was possible to accidentally access the storefront when opening crates at the end of missions, pressuring kids to purchase more of them. This gear also didn't work on regular Skylanders, yet again limiting its usefulness and alienating players who spend hundreds of dollars on past toys. Overall, it felt like the pay-to-play elements were stronger than ever before, and the sales of the game were pitiful, only reaching 66,000 units in the first month. This would be the first time in the series that Activision didn't mention a Skylanders game in their winter quarterly report. And because of this financial flop and the declining interest in the Skylanders series, Activision decided not to release a sequel the following year, and Vicarious Visions, the other half of the Skylanders team, was quietly reassigned to work on Destiny. It seemed eerily similar to Activision's handling of the Guitar Hero franchise, deny that the series was cancelled and insist that it's just a hiatus, despite the writing on the wall. A Switch port of Imaginators released in March to coincide with the launch of the console, presumably to recoup losses and gauge series interest. But given that Activision's uneasy silence continued, it likely didn't succeed. When 2018's Winter Report rolled around, all mentions of Skylanders had been completely scrubbed, when in past years it was touted as one of their all-time greats. The message was clear.
Yeah, that's
Activision was done with Skylanders. The final death blow of the Toys to Life genre came with the announcement of LEGO Dimensions canceling its Year 3 lineup on October 23, 2017. So, at this point, Disney Infinity was cancelled, LEGO Dimensions was cancelled, and Skylanders faded into the background to never be mentioned again from Activision or anyone else involved. Skylanders suffered the same fate of mini IPs under the hand of Activision, an oversaturated market. Each year introduced a new mainline title, spin-offs, and dozens of expensive figurines. Those later games failed to shake things up, and towards the end, you couldn't even guarantee the figures would work in the next game. Factoring in the competition from Disney Infinity, Amiibo, and LEGO Dimensions, at a time that the franchise was already starting to stagnate with fans, it's easy to see how players couldn't keep up. It not only led to the collapse of Skylanders, but the entire Toys to Life genre. The studio behind Skylanders, Toys for Bob, has gone to work on the Spyro Reignited trilogy, Crash Bandicoot 4, and Crash Team Rumble. In 2021, the CEOs and founders of the company, Fred Ford and Paul Reach, decided to leave the studio to go form Pistol Shrimp and finally create a sequel to Star Control 2. It's called Freestar's Children of Infinity due to Accolade owning the rights to the name Star Control, and the game is still in development. It had a Kickstarter on April 16, 2024, asking for $100,000 and received over $680,000. Meanwhile, after Microsoft's buyout of Activision in February of 2024, 86 employees from Toys for Bob were laid off and the office was shut down. This prompted the studio to go indie a month later, where they're currently working on an unannounced title. The only remnant of the entire Toys to Life era in gaming are Amiibos, which are still going strong and are still as understocked as ever. Their strategy to focus on the physical product rather than the digital goods aspect served them well. Did you ever play any of the Skylanders games? What was your experience with them? Did you play the other titles like Disney Infinity or LEGO Dimensions? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this video,
time ago, I decided that I was not really interested in living within my means.
When you're currently stacking $176,000.
Accountants like, dude, you just forgot it. Dude, like, I don't know. And I was like, oh, man.
So today we're going to be looking at people who live above their means. It doesn't matter if you're a normal, everyday person, an influencer, professional athlete, or a celebrity. So many people are guilty of this in today's world. And hopefully this video will help de-influence you so you can avoid these same sort of issues in your life. We also have some comments from you guys from previous videos, so if you want to be featured on a future video, leave in the comments down below. But let's just jump into it.
My parents are literally always asking me, how can you afford this? How can you afford that? And the answer is so simple, I absolutely cannot. A long time ago, I decided that I was not really interested in living within my means, and ever since then, I've lived a very $10 and $20 out kind of lifestyle. I would stop, but it's, you know, it's yet to all come crashing down. I'm doing fine-ish.
Don't worry, it won't come crashing down one day. But this video was made by a travel influencer with the audio overlay, so this wasn't her actual means of how she traveled, but this video was relatable to many people. I personally think if you're single or not in a serious relationship and childless, this is fine. So it's okay to make terrible financial decisions as long as you're on your own. I mean, I do agree if you are a parent or have a family that rely on you, that would make the situation exponentially worse, but it doesn't make it okay if you're single and just destroying your own life. This sounds too funny. We all can relate. Really? My dad said, I gotta say, I'm surprised your job pays this well. I said, oh yeah, I'm very comfortable. Has $30,000 in credit card debt. I went out with a girl who did this throughout her 20s, and when she was 33 and wanted a husband, I left. She's now over 40 and single. There have been an increasing amount of examples that we've seen over my past few videos of your bad financial decisions creeping into your relationship portion of your life. But I will say, overspending definitely happens on both sides of the coin. It may be on different things, different items, different products. And I've seen an increasing amount of videos like this from a guy's perspective.
Buy expensive cars because they make you work harder. This obviously isn't financial advice, but it's what helped me level up from car to car. I've always loved cars since I was young, and I went from a 2015 Ford 288i to an S5 B9, and now to this, my 2017 540i, and hopefully in a few months will be in an M car. I've heard a few people say buy cars that you can't afford because it makes you work harder. And yeah, I can confirm that's completely true, Paul, in my experience, of course.
Yes, with his experience, I would definitely not say that's the majority of cases. I also remember the same type of clip from another creator. I couldn't find the exact example, but it was a TikToker who's up on screen. He interviews people on the street who are pretty wealthy, asking them for advice. You know, everybody likes it. And there was another guy who did the same thing. Bought a supercar, penthouse, just a lighter fire under him to make him work harder. And maybe that works for some people, but I would say for many, that just puts you on a fast track to get a car repo on your record. I mean, here's another one. Boy, man, buy the car you want so it makes you work harder with a C8 Corvette. And I know there are some people who are genuinely car guys, and I understand. You want to drive and own different vehicles, maybe pretty consistently, because you actually love cars. But there are a ton of others who just like what the car signifies to other people, and that can definitely be a slippery slope, let alone how easy this can be faked for social media.
I'm not naming no names, but I wish you guys knew how easy it is to fake being wealthy for the internet here in LA. A lot of those big money guys and your favorite creators don't live where you think they live. Up the street from here, we have this $100 million mansion that costs $90 an hour to rent out. A lot of creators rent that space once a week, film their content, and make it look like they live there. Rent a Lamborghini or a Ferrari, $99 an hour. But there's even more, because we also have designer rental services. It's between $300 and $800 a month, and you get bags, shoes, sunglasses, clothing, anything you need, all designer. Just wear it, get your pictures, and then send it back. As long as you don't ruin it, you don't have to pay for it. You can fully construct a lifestyle out here of wealth, and that's part of the reason we're starting to get a bunch of influencer debt resolution companies now.
We'll talk a little bit more about influencers going broke later in the video, but then you start seeing a lot of the fans, the viewers of that content, start upping their lifestyle because of what they see online. And I mean, some of these posts just get way out of hand. Make me feel better. Our monthly expenses average $7,000 to $8,000 a month. What's yours? The description doesn't make it much better. I want honest numbers. We're a family of 3. Now, maybe if they had 5 or 6 kids, you know, a pretty big family, of course, that's going to be very expensive in 2025. But $8,000 a month on expenses? That seems a little above and beyond to me. I feel like we're always one Target trip away from losing the house. I feel like that's a textbook example of living above your means, man. I feel this one. Yep, welcome to real life. Not trying to brag, but my monthly is $9,500 and I only bring in $8,000, $13,000 to $15,000. Just living. Same. Connecticut with 4 kids is expensive. LMAO, you're not spending $200,000 a year in expenses, which honestly I can believe with the examples we've seen on this channel. I would not say it's $200,000 a year in necessities, but a lot more wants and things they don't really need. Our mortgage alone is $5,700. 2 kids in daycare, 1 car payment. Southern California. I can't imagine how much that is in total then. Right under that, wow, does no one live below their means anymore? Doesn't really seem like it. What are we counting in this? Because utilities, groceries, cell phone, we're at about $3,500. But once you start adding in things like my Pilates membership, it creeps up to $5,000 to $6,000 a month. How much is Pilates, man? Private schools, plus summer camps and classes for 3 kids, that's $15,000 a month alone for us. Right after, $16,000 for Catholic school, travel sports, mortgage, and Pilates again. This is truly unbelievable. unbelievable. We have a comment from you guys that goes well with the high mortgage payments. The problem also stems from people buying at the top of their budget. My wife and I both work and only bought our house that we could afford on one salary, and we're paying double on that mortgage, aiming to pay it off in less than 9 years. Most people just live way above their means and are ill-equipped for any variances like this, especially economic uncertainty, maybe a little bit of a downturn. That nice corporate job that you're making a solid income on doesn't have the best quarter, the stock didn't go up like it's always supposed to, and then you're out of a job and in a really tight spot.
How many people is that for? Two. It's just for both of you guys?
Yes!
How long is it at 44,600?
Because we got a suite! And it's gonna be so good!
So you're paying $4,600 on the cruise when you're currently stacking. Are you ready for this?
No. Yes, alright.
$176,000. Out of which $60,000 is credit card debt.
60?
It's credit card debt.
Oops, I made a mistake. $60,000 gone. The top comment is exactly what I think as well. How do people not know how much debt they have? I guess they just believe the income they're getting is just paying for everything that's going out as well. And that is clearly not the case, but still, go on that cruise and spend $4,000 as well.
I'm really curious how people are rationalizing living above their means when they know they can't afford it. For example, I know many people who have student debt, credit card debt, whatever it is. They have a job, but like for example, I know someone who just bought a Range Rover, and they're in probably $100,000 student loans. Like, where are you? How are you? I have anxiety for you. How do you do that? Like, how are you justifying that? Why do people live above their means? Like, I grew up in a family where you get a car that is used, and you make sure that it's a good car. Like, I'm not saying buy a crappy one, but get a good car, make sure it gets you from point A to point B. It's safe and, checks the boxes. And then eventually, as you get older, you can justify getting a car because maybe you've bought a house, you have all of those boxes checked that need to be checked. You're not in credit card debt, you're not in student loan debt, all of those things have been paid off.
But now you need to be seen in that Range Rover when you're 25 years old, not 65. And then one of the comments from this clip goes with the doomer mentality we've seen a lot. I believe right now people have just resigned themselves to being in debt forever. Well, you're not really giving yourself a fighting chance if you're making decisions like this right away. Life is short. I don't have time to wait. Could it be from the fact that we stare at our phones and want everything instantly all the time now, 24/7? That delayed gratification is basically a thing of the past? I don't know. Seems like it to me. Honestly, the phrase YOLO has been the reason why I buy irrational things. LOL. I remember when people would say YOLO, ironically, because of how cringy it is, but I guess it's just coming back again, and people are actually taking it seriously, as sad as that sounds. But a little part 2 to that clip, with the Range Rover, we have somebody who is on the other end of owning that vehicle.
Haley, how are you? This is Yusuf, the car dealer.
Hey, Yusuf, thanks for calling back. I appreciate it.
For sure. I see that you have a beautiful spec 2022 Range Rover you want to sell. So break it down for me.
I do. I like the car, but my lease payment's $2,400 a month, and I'm looking to get something new.
So I'm unable to sell leases. Are you looking at like new, or you just mean like a used car to roll over into?
Well, I mean, I've been going to dealership to dealership, trying to figure out what to do. I went over on my mileage, and I think I just want to keep this, but how can you help me? I mean, I'm in a tough spot. My job changed, and I ended up going way over. 36,000.
That's not going over the mileage, just a little bit. 36,000? But surprise, surprise again. I had a really good job. I could get that Range Rover and show off, even though it's $2,400 a month for it. Then I changed jobs and lost that 6-figure salary, and I just need to get out of it into something else. But I'm stuck because I went over mileage, and everybody knows actually owning a Range Rover, the maintenance is going to be brutal. We have another comment from one of you guys. This is why the government doesn't think people are actually struggling. People are spending ridiculous amounts of money on frivolous things and then cry that they can't afford rent or groceries. They're looking at the exorbitant amount of American citizens that are spending money on Amazon alone and thinking that, well, they must just not be struggling that much then. A majority of those purchases are going on credit, so in reality, people don't have that money, but it still brings up the profit for these massive companies. Their stock prices will go up, and they'll look good to the shareholders, and everything just keeps
worse. I mean, this next video is showing how many people live paycheck to paycheck, even with incredible salaries. Percentage of Americans living paycheck to paycheck based on income. Overall, the study found that about 26% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, but the incomes that they focus in on begin at less than $50,000 all the way up to $150,000. I think the data is most shocking, so stick around for that. To begin, those making less than $50,000 a year, 35% were found living paycheck to paycheck. For those making $50 to $75K a year, 24% paycheck to paycheck. For those making $76 to $100, 23% living paycheck to paycheck. For those making $101 to $125, 22% living paycheck to paycheck. For those making $126 to $150, 21% living paycheck to paycheck. And finally, for those making even $150,000 plus, still 20%. Now, I think he ends his videos very abruptly to increase the watch time or people replaying the videos. I'm not sure, but even at $150,000 plus a year, 20% still wait for that check to come in every couple weeks. I could understand the percentage being higher with people not making as much, but once you hit over $150,000 a year, you should have a pretty comfortable life. They just choose not to with their lifestyle choices. It's just crazy to me. Then one of the comments, hello, Mr. Jones, look at my new car. Keeping up with the Joneses will keep you broke. Another set of screenshots, daughter's napping for 2 hours. Tell me your monthly expenses amount. Down for a good laugh. Here's mine, $16,000, $8,000 to $10,000. Bad spending habits. Okay, the algorithm is algorithming because I was just freaking out to my husband on how we spend $12,000 a month. We buy nothing extra, really. Zero. Necessities and maybe lunch out and coffees here and there. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say it's probably a little bit more than coffee and lunch once in a while. Around $15,000 for basics. Shelter, car, tuition, utilities. Like, of course, I understand everything being more expensive right now, especially in the past 5 years, but you can't tell me that $15,000 is normal for basics. $10,000 a month, 2 kids in daycare, 1 in after-school care. Being in New York doesn't help. I definitely agree with that. All in around $8,000 living in the suburbs near Cleveland. The comment right after that too just says $14,000. Our expenses have skyrocketed in the last few years, mostly because we moved to South Florida. Used to be in Minnesota with a tiny mortgage and paid off cars. Now we spend around $9,000 a month. Another comment from one of you guys talking about one of the issues we've seen previously. The truth is, no one should be spending above their means for their wedding, period. Whether it's $50,000 or $500. If the look and extravagance of the wedding is really that important, save for it like an adult. Because the stats almost seem fake. It was like 48% of all weddings, the couple ends up going into debt for the party, just immediately putting a damper on the relationship, because one of the big reasons why people get divorced is financial issues. Definitely doesn't help if you spend $50,000 right off the bat just to get married.
If someone picks a destination wedding, they have to accept that not everyone can afford to go.
It's Machu Picchu, once a lifetime.
No, make a lot of money. You can go multiple times in a lifetime.
I don't want to keep budget. I want to go with my friends and celebrate.
You're maxed out.
I think.
Yeah.
I mean, the points paid for all the travel.
You have paid more in interest.
I don't know. It's paying for my trip next month.
Where are you going even?
Tomorrowland, in Belgium.
You have maxed out credit cards. You're behind on your mortgage, and you're going to Belgium?
This was also somebody making a very solid income, but still the expenses heavily weighed out the money coming in. Had to go on trips 24/7, couldn't wait or budget or save at all. Not even paying his mortgage either. I mean, that's the top comment. Being behind on your mortgage but traveling is wild. Another comment talking about destination weddings. I lost a 28-year friendship over not being able to afford her $7,000 destination wedding in Mexico. She tried to encourage me to max out my credit card or have my dad take out a loan against his 401k. I don't know about you, that seems like an absolutely terrible friend. And that was a reply from somebody else. Now that's just evil. It seems like the trash took itself out. I know people will feel bad about not going to a wedding that's outside of the country, but you basically have to know that some people are not going to be able to spend thousands of dollars for your party. Social media and treating yourself has really gotten out of hand. Couldn't agree more, because it's way past just making a bad or silly purchase once in a while. I get it, we've all done it before. I definitely have. But realizing what you've done and not making it a habit will definitely help you not become a lot of the people we've seen in this video.
How you make $40,000 a year but you drive a Hellcat?
Instead, we buy things we don't need with money we don't have to impress people we don't like. When that stops, your finances tend to get better. They're not ready for that conversation. They'll get mad and either say, if you're broke, just say that. I've seen that a lot in comment sections. Or call you a hater. So like I said before, you can make a whole bunch of videos, give people advice, but some people you really just can't help. You gotta let them make their own mistakes and hopefully realize it eventually. I mean, we have a perfect example in the next clip, living above my means for 20 years.
This is me being as completely honest and vulnerable as I think I could ever be on the internet. Right now is the most financially stable I've ever been in my life. And I have made six figures for several years. But it wasn't because of necessarily bad decisions. It was just trying to live above the means, the money that was coming in. Now here's the crazy. I got a whole bunch of money going into my 401k. Like, when I retire, we're gonna be straight. It's just I didn't do real so good with the money that I was keeping with me. And right now, to say that I have $1,000 in my savings account, I feel pretty good. Like, I can't even pretend like I got $1,000 in my savings account right now, and I feel amazing about it. And it's just, I mean, be proud.
So I'm glad that his 401k is in good shape, hopefully helped out by his employer as well, but still, you got some time to wait for that. And making six figures for several years of his life, and now only having $1,000 in his account, really does show you how crazy some of the spending can get. I wish high schools and even military would teach more about budgeting. We need to learn when we're young, not when we get in trouble. And hopefully that's what these types of videos help you with. Too many people have no idea how to budget and save. They want instant gratification of having something now, not saving and buying when it can be afforded. I mean, the biggest one in 2025 now woke up to 18 afterpay payments due, and it's not payday yet. Everybody loves the BNPL loans. Klarna is tearing me up. Yep, Zip, Afterpay, and Affirm all do. All my Beyonce and Vegas trip payments coming to haunt me next week.
Oh, man. You live at home with your parents at 30. You're a little boy. Get rid of it.
Sell the Mustang.
Why the no?
Because, like I said, it's a dream car. I'm not going to sell the car.
Who gives a... If you can't afford to live and you're about to get foreclosed on, get rid of the car.
What is my problem?
You wouldn't even send us the VIN. You're the first one ever to never send us the VIN. Why the f wouldn't you send us the VIN so we can get the value?
Because I was so determined that I'm not going to sell this car.
So what's the coming on a show where someone tells you what you should probably do? Sell it. Get a $10,000 car, take care of your debt. The rest of it, I mean, it goes to paying off a fifth of your debt.
That wouldn't even put a dent
It accelerates. A fifth is a dent, you dumb.
The mental gymnastics he's doing to keep his Mustang, his dream car, while he's staying at his parents' house and can't afford to live. It'll barely put a dent into the debt, even though 20%, I would say, is still a significant amount. If you're not going to sell the car, be prepared to live in it. Probably wouldn't be a very comfy and roomy live if you're talking about a Mustang. And we even have people trying to show off now while actively breaking the law, committing fraud, just so they could drive around in a Mercedes.
You walked in for a new Benz, but you end up getting arrested. Tell a dealership that you want to pay $15,000 off today, and you want to go ahead and finance the rest. Salesman says, okay, all right, go ahead and provide me with your ID, and the salesman is looking at the ID and the social that you put on the application to finance the remaining balance, then they don't match. Dealership runs the ID through the database, and nothing comes up. Salesman asks you to pay Form 32, your paycheck that has the last 4 of your social security number on it, just to reference the information that you provide us with, and she says, no, I don't have one. I didn't know that I had to have one because I was going to pay for $15,000 on with my debit card. Salesman says, no worries, that's okay. The 28-year-old woman, your information should definitely be coming up in the database. You've been driving since you were 16. Salesman asks, okay, we're going to go ahead and start the process. When you get this paperwork done, try to stop. Ask for a form of payment attached to the pay slip. Go ahead and process it. They are very suspicious. Hands over a debit card, someone is deceased and said, oh, that's my aunt. You had to think that you're going to buy a car with a deceased person's debit card. Once they found out about the debit card, they went ahead and they ran their social security number and it came back to the name that was on the debit card. Shame.
I mean, just unbelievable. We've seen a couple examples now of people trying to use deceased people's credit cards, their social security, and getting caught at the dealership. I specifically remember a Kia dealership that made a TikTok about it, and they went big on this one. They wanted to drive around in a nice Mercedes-Benz.
Are you prepared to be a single mom here? Because the dude is literally ready to leave if we do not solve this. You ready for single motherhood?
No.
Tell me how much the household's been last month. We know what comes in. About 10K.
I think maybe like 11.
average of $733 a day. How do people spend 22 grand a month? What do they even buy? That's why I feel like it's so hard to believe, oh, I didn't know it was that much. Really? You don't know that? Come on. But we could switch over to some of the professional athletes and the celebrities that have gone broke, and that's why I think
Again, why do these markets keep melting up? Well, I think it's because we're going to get a melt up. We're going to get an inflationary. That's what it is. And yes, we're okay in the stock market, but I think the gold, silver, and miners, you're going to do even better in relative terms. That's the way I see it. That's what the bond markets are telling us, the longer end. Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, Verneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. We had the CPI data yesterday, and there's a lot of talk now that the Fed will be able to cut rates come September. And I think, they're desperate. And I'll tell you why they're desperate for rate cuts. But I also want to talk about the bond market.
Stop the ether reactors from going into meltdown. I need to convince Sam to relinquish the Sentinel artifact.
Sure, whatever. You two psychos enjoy your pissing contest.
Sergei, you deserve to know. Nexus was obliterated in the Dark Ether. There was never any chance of saving her.
She was a warrior, a soldier. She understood the risks. You are not her.
But I feel what she felt. She treasured you, and so do I.
Fascinating. Perhaps some streak of humanity does indeed lurk.
Kaboom!
Shoot to kill or don't shoot at all.
Insta-kill.
Last carnage. You're welcome.
Max armor.
Caja misteriosa. I'm at your mercy. Mommy used to say, share your toys, have more fun. Oh, I will make bad things happen with this.
Tear them to pieces. Max ammo.
Throwing Semtex.
Double points.
Oh, that is what I call losing face.
So this is what I've come to? Begging a fucking box?
Now you will see what Toro does best. Fantastico. I'll take it.
Bye-bye. Bonus points.
Plus, it's the inflation, and therein lies the big trick. Yeah, 2.7 is not.
One of America's closest allies is quietly rewiring its trade routes. Now we oil our gas, but with aluminium. For decades, the US bought the vast majority of Canada's aluminium, sometimes over 80% of it. But in 2025, something shifted. An $18 billion pivot towards Europe began to take shape. This time, the advantage isn't geography, it's carbon. Today, we're looking at how carbon pricing rules, not tariffs, not shipping lanes, are starting to redraw the aluminium trade. We'll see why Canada's low-carbon smelters are suddenly Europe's dream suppliers, and why that shift matters far beyond the metal market. We'll start with the overview, what became the USA's aluminium gas station. Then we'll break down the carbon advantage and why it's basically a tariff shield. And finally, we'll look at how this small shift in trade routes could quietly reshape US-Canada relations. Quick question before we start, just for fun. Are you in the aluminium or the aluminum club? Drop your preferences in the comments and I'll tell you mine next time. So, Canada's aluminium industry is built for export. 10 million smelters in Quebec and British Columbia produce over 3 million tons a year, which is about 11% of most of modern trade history, the US has been the natural destination. The geography is a gift. Canadian smelters sit within easy rail or shipping distance of US manufacturing hubs. The market is huge, the political relationships are relatively stable, and until recently, there weren't many better options. But there is a catch. Whenever US-Canada relations sour, whether it's over dairy quotas or broader trade spots, aluminium becomes a target. In 2018, Washington slapped a 10% tariff on Canadian aluminium under national security grounds. The move was temporary, but it was a wake-up call. Relying on one buyer gives the buyer leverage. For decades, that was a manageable risk. Now, climate policy is changing the map entirely. Enter the EU Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanisms, CBAM. Starting in 2026, Europe will begin imposing carbon tariffs on certain imported goods, including aluminium, based on how much CO2 was emitted in making them. Most aluminium in the world is smelted using coal-fired electricity in China, India, parts of the Middle East. Producing 1 ton of that aluminium can emit 16 tons of CO2. Not that great. Canada's smelters are almost entirely powered by hydroelectricity. A smelter is basically like a giant kitchen for metal. It cooks aluminium oxide at extremely high temperatures until it melts into pure aluminium. Man, I wish I was a chemist. This process normally uses enormous amounts of electricity, and if that electricity comes from coal or gas, the carbon emissions skyrocket. That means their emissions are roughly 2.2 tons of CO2 per ton of aluminium, about 1/7 of the global average. That difference isn't just green bragging rights, it's literal money. Under CBAM, a coal-based producer exporting to Europe could face carbon tariffs adding hundreds of dollars per ton, in some cases over $300 depending on the EU carbon price. Canada's hydro-powered smelters are essentially tariff-proof, and in some cases their product sells at a premium, which is a very rare case where climate credentials directly translate into market power. It's also a sharp contrast to what is happening south of the border. In 2025, you all have heard of this, Trump has been escalating Section 232 tariffs on Canadian aluminium from 25% in March to 50% by June, while also imposing 35% tariffs on most other Canadian goods under a separate July executive order. Ottawa has hit back with 25% retaliatory tariffs on the US aluminium and other products, and this back and forth has turned the Canada-US aluminium trade from a century-old habit into a political hostage situation. And that is where Europe comes in. CBAM gives Canada a way to play offense, not just defense. Instead of fighting to keep every ton flowing south under unpredictable tariff threats, Canadian producers can lock in long-term European contracts that pay more and can't be undone by a single presidential signature. This flips a century of trade logic. Geography used to be king, I suppose it still is in some cases. Ship to the nearest biggest market, no questions asked. Now compliance with environmental rules can outweigh shipping costs, and in a world where US-Canada trade can be weaponized overnight, climate policy is more than a virtue signal, it is actually a shield. Germany is actually a perfect example of how this plays out. The country is overhauling its industrial base, from car manufacturing to green construction to meet net zero targets. Aluminium is critical in lighter, more fuel-efficient vehicles, renewable energy infrastructure, and low-carbon building materials. But sourcing aluminium without a carbon penalty is very tricky. Russia was once a major supplier to Europe, but sanctions have choked off that pipeline. China's product comes with heavy emissions and political baggage. Now here's where it gets very interesting. European buyers aren't just looking at price anymore, they're calculating the total cost of carbon. When you factor in CBAM tariffs on high-emission aluminium, suddenly the cheaper Chinese product isn't looking so affordable. German procurement teams are running the numbers, and the math is starting to favor cleaner alternatives, even if the upfront price is a little higher. This shift is creating opportunities that didn't exist just a few years ago. Traditional trade relationships built purely on cost are being reshuffled as carbon accounting becomes a real business factor. For countries like Germany, this isn't just about environmental goals, it's about maintaining industrial competitiveness in a world where carbon costs are becoming unavoidable. Enter Canada, CBAM ready, politically safe, hydro-powered. By mid-2025, Canada's aluminium exports to Germany had climbed steadily, with early test shipments also landing in the Netherlands, Poland, and Denmark, the kind of cautious orders that often turn into multi-year contracts. Germany's automakers, Volkswagen, BMW, Mercedes, can integrate Canadian aluminium without CBAM tariffs, keeping their supply chains competitive. And for Canada, every ton sold to Europe is a ton not automatically earmarked for the US. So let's put all of this into perspective. In the first half of 2025, Canadian aluminium exports to the EU rose over 12% year on year. That's still small in absolute terms. Europe takes less than 10% of Canada's total aluminium exports. But here's where it gets really interesting. In 2010, the US bought 85% of Canada's aluminium exports. By mid-2025, that share was under 70% and falling. Even nudging Europe's share from 3% to 6% could mean hundreds of millions of dollars in extra annual revenue for Canadian producers. That's because low-carbon aluminium often sells at $150 to $200 per ton premium, a price signal driven directly by climate policy. If you want to support this kind of analysis where we dig into politics hiding inside trade stats, there's a Ko-fi link below. Every contribution helps because these videos do take forever to make. Anyway, for the US, this isn't just about metal. Aluminium is a strategic material. It's essential for power grids, aircraft frames, satellites, military vehicles. But American smelter capacity has been shrinking for a decade, down about 15% since 2015, which makes the US more reliant on imports than ever before. The Trump administration turbocharged this dependency. In March 2025, Trump reimposed 25% tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminium under Section 232, applying to raw, semi-processed, and derivative products. In June, he doubled those tariffs to 50%. Fast forward to August now, and he raised general tariffs on non-USMCA goods from Canada 35%, hitting aluminium among other sectors too. These repeated moves drove a sharp wedge between the US and Canada, both signaling that even reliable suppliers can become political bargaining chips overnight. That realization stings more than any shipment delay, honestly. For Canada, diversifying its buyers is now a form of trade insurance. The 2018 tariff scare almost showed how politics can weaponize commerce. With Europe's CBAM in play, Canadian aluminium isn't just a backup, it is a resilient, long-term market offering high margins and relative immunity to snap US trade warfare. And this is a part of a broader trend as well. Climate policy is becoming as important as geography in determining trade routes. We've seen similar dynamics as steel, cement, and even fertilizers. Once CBAM is fully operational, more industries will feel it. Countries that can produce low-carbon versions of heavy industrial goods will enjoy built-in tariff protection and often a price premium. For allies, this creates a new kind of relationship. It's not about who's closest or even who is friendliest. It's about who can deliver the cleanest product under the newer rules, and that's a completely different kind of loyalty. If projections hold, Europe's demand for low-carbon aluminium will rise 50 to 20% by 2030. Canada's hydro advantage means it can claim a meaningful slice of that market. And while $18 billion in trade may not seem massive compared to oil or cars, in a niche industry like aluminium, it is tectonic. If you're enjoying this breakdown, I'd love it if you subscribed. I'm aiming for 10,000 big Christmas. Anyway, this $18 billion aluminium shift isn't about abandoning the US. It's about ending dependence on any single buyer. And it's a reminder that in the 21st century economy, loyalty has a shelf life. The countries that adapt fastest to new rules often get to write them, and right now, Canada is moving faster than most expected. Washington is learning that even long-standing trade relationships can melt away, quietly and without much fanfare. Oh, and that question from earlier, I'm in the aluminium club. I am European after all. You want to see how these climate-driven trade rules are reshaping global power far beyond aluminium, including who might lead the world by 2040? Watch this video that I'm linking here, exploring whether America's reign is ending and who will rule the world in 2040, because aluminium may just be the start. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
I've begun to really see Dollar General as like a criminal organization. You are stealing from my community, and I think they're very aware of it. Classic bait and switch. Somebody at the top is making a lot of money.
Go for a drive in any American county, and you'll likely soon pass by the yellow and black lettering of a Dollar General.
drive a little further, and another will appear. Then another, then another.
Here's the other Dollar General store. It's 7 miles from the last Dollar General store we were at.
With nearly 20,000 Dollar General stores in 48 states, the Tennessee-based discount chain has sunk its teeth into lower-income, rural, and suburban areas everywhere.
It's easy to look at the dollar stores and think they are a sign of economic distress or a symptom of economic distress, but what we found is that they're in fact a cause of it.
Underneath Dollar General's so-called low everyday prices in convenient locations lies a sinister business model and a massive scandal that hardly anybody knows about.
The fact that we have to sue a company to get them to tell the truth is absurd in my mind to begin with.
My name is Lori Hartline. I am a Dollar General shopper out of convenience in my neighborhood. What you see here is when you travel, you'll go from looking for a grocery store, and before you get one, you have 3 Dollar General options. And that's all you have.
In May of 2022, Lori Hartline started noticing some seemingly harmless discrepancies while shopping at her local Dollar General.
When they opened up in, I think it was 2021, the price of my kitty litter was $8.95. Great. I purchased it all the time. I didn't pay attention. I go up there, I check out, I leave. Well, one day, wait a minute, $10? I noticed it. I asked them about it. Oh no, they've raised the price. Well, that doesn't say it on the shelf. Well, they just have to change it. It's in the computer. It's not on the shelf. Next week, go in and buy cat litter. Same thing. That is not what the price says on the shelf. What am I doing wrong here? I was watching the news one morning and heard about Dollar General in the state of Ohio was being sued for deceptive pricing. That is what happens to me. I knew I wasn't crazy. I know it's just not me.
After months of repeatedly being overcharged by Dollar General, Lori wrote a letter to the Oklahoma Attorney General.
And within 2 days, I got a response that they forwarded the letter. Great. They responded back. Dollar General did. And they apologized, and they said, we'll have a gift card for you. I said, okay, well, let me just ask, how much is it for? $10. Tell her to keep it. I don't want it. It was insulting.
Lori's story was brought to attorney Mark Dan, where it became the basis for one of 3 class action lawsuits in Oklahoma, New York, and New Jersey.
I don't think there's any question that Dollar General is doing this intentionally and systematically.
June 22nd, I was overcharged 4 items out of 11. $7.95, advertised $6.50.
If you tell me one thing and then charge me something else, in almost every jurisdiction in America, that would be theft by deception. Corporations, as we now know from the U.S. Supreme Court, are people, and people need to follow the law.
Dollar General's deceptive business practices run deeper than most realize, according to Stacey Mitchell, a researcher at the Institute for Local Self-Reliance.
I think what they're looking for is places that have been that lack economic and political power, places that they can push around. They're often building in such numbers that it becomes impossible for a new grocery store or other locally owned businesses to develop in a neighborhood that really needs them. They kind of block in poverty as they grow, because poverty is the thing that really fuels these companies' bottom lines.
So we have poorest people in the country going to a store that's deceiving them about the prices that they're charging for goods in a situation where they have very few other realistic choices. I think it's about as exploitive a business plan as I've ever seen. Almost every county in America, every state has a system for making sure that people who run cash registers do so honestly.
Price verification is when we see that a product is listed for $2.99, take it up to the register, scan it, make sure it's bringing up as $2.99. We do a random sample of products that we pull. We're used to seeing 1 or 2 failures, getting it corrected, and feeling confident before
unfortunate Dollar General's case, it was large and continuous. The scale or the concern was over 80% of the stores that we checked were failing, and were failing competitively, and really no acknowledgement or desire to correct that failure.
Despite being cited repeatedly, Dollar General neglected to correct the problem, prompting the Ohio Attorney General to file litigation against the store.
One unique component in our conversation was recognition of how Dollar General's staffs were short-staffed. Staff were receiving no guidance, and were just kind of keeping the place open as best they could, not really necessarily aware of the price verification challenge, or duty and responsibility under Ohio law, and then opportunities to correct.
If you have designed a business where you are deliberately understaffing your stores, you're deliberately cutting costs, you're going to end up having these kinds of, widespread mistakes in pricing. I mean, that's just the reality of you're not actually providing enough labor to comply with the law and make sure that people are getting charged what the price actually is. They have decided that they can make more profit by violating all of these laws, by understaffing, by cutting corners. And right now, the fines that are associated with doing that are simply a cost of doing business. They are too low to make a difference and to stop this organization from behaving this way.
Dollar General has been fined over $20 million by states and the federal government since 2017. But those fines, which pale in comparison to the amount Dollar General has siphoned from communities, have done little to change the company's behavior.
There are 19,000 stores. There are literally millions of transactions a day, millions of items sold a day in Dollar General stores. And even if 10% of the time they're stealing 10 cents on 10% of the items that are sold, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars going into the pockets of Dollar General shareholders and out of the pockets of the poorest people in America.
If you're a systematic violator of laws as a company, what's the deeper way that we can go after you? At some point, you've got to be shut down if you can't reform your behavior, because clearly this one-off approach that we're using is not working.
And I think that it's time for Dollar General to pay the price civilly, to pay the customers for what they've stolen from them, to change their business practices for how they go forward in the future. And I don't think it's far-fetched at all to think that the corporate executives who hatched this scheme ought to be prosecuted.
They can build this little metal building in a week, maybe 2 max, and everybody's getting ripped off every day. It's only a quarter here. It's a dime here. It's 35 cents here. Who has the time to go and write a letter and complain over a quarter? Well, I do.
Thanks for watching. We hope you liked this video. To see more stories like this one, be sure to subscribe to our channel for more Norfolk Union. And if there's a story you think we should investigate, let us know in the comments below.
I worked my whole life, and this is what it comes down to? Some greedy person wanting his big chunk out of what little bit I had?
How much longer can you afford to live in your home?
1 month. I don't know what I'm going to do. Hope that I don't wake up tomorrow. That's crossed my mind.
One of the most important forms of affordable housing is under threat. They're called manufactured housing communities. You might know them as mobile home parks or trailer parks, and they often get a bad rap. But 22 million Americans call them home for a reason.
We're pretty much the last oasis of affordable housing in this country.
These parks are at the foundation of America's housing market, often the last line of defense against homelessness. But over the last decade, these communities have become the target of a new kind of landlord: private equity.
Private equity
equity firms are increasingly getting involved.
Some of the biggest investors in America have moved into this industry.
People living at a local mobile home park outraged over the sharp increase in lot rent.
Rents were raised by nearly 60%.
Their rent could increase by thousands of dollars a year.
A group of mobile home residents are protesting their living conditions.
It's like you genetically bred a superior predator and let him loose in a target-rich environment. This is actually a good day. Sometimes it's like mud.
This corporation is putting profits ahead of the safety and welfare of our local citizens. And this we will not allow.
So why have manufactured homes become private equity's latest target? And what can be done to save one of the last forms of affordable housing in the country?
I've lived in manufactured homes for 50 years, maybe more.
Madeline Beckett lives in a park outside of Lansing, Michigan.
This park was run the way a good park should be run, by the same couple for years and years and years. They were a little stern, or she was a little stern. She was a lot stern, but nobody pulled any punches with her.
Like most people in manufactured housing, Madeline owns her home, but pays monthly rent to the park owner for the land it sits on.
When I retired, I looked at my money and my situation, and I'm like, okay, great. I knew what the rent was. It was a third of my income. I don't live high in the hog, I'm not going to Paris anytime soon. And then the conglomerate came in and offered apparently the owner money that he couldn't resist. I looked it up and I went, oh dear, I think we are in trouble.
3 years ago, a private equity firm bought Madeline's community and later sold to another firm. Since then, her monthly rent plus fees have jumped 50%.
Instead of what I thought the rent was going to be, it's $200 more. I have nowhere to go. Just the other day, my daughter went with me to the food bank, and I hadn't done that before. I haven't been poor. I worked for 45 years. There is no American dream anymore. All it is survival.
During the pandemic, institutional investors started to buy more manufactured housing than ever before. Between 2020 and 2021, they made nearly a quarter of all manufactured home purchases in the U.S. Today, 12 private equity firms own at least 1,200 parks nationwide, according to the Private Equity Stakeholder Project. In Michigan, private equity owns 1 in every 10 parks.
There is an overall trend in our economy to identify who has the fewest choices and then squeeze them.
Paul Terranova organizes manufactured housing residents in Michigan.
While folks often call them mobile homes, they're not really particularly mobile. Wall Street investors, private equity firms, hedge funds kind of figured out that folks living in manufactured housing communities are trapped. They can't move.
It costs $10,000 to $20,000 to move one of these homes, and most people who live in them can't afford that.
You think about the fact that the average manufactured housing resident lives on about $35,000 a year, that's generally out of people's range.
Because they can't move, they're uniquely vulnerable to predatory landlords who can charge the highest rent residents can bear.
There's a guy named Frank Rolfe who runs something called Manufactured Housing University.
Okay, we're now at her second park. We're getting out again, so here we are.
He was quoted saying something along the lines of, owning a mobile home park is like owning a Waffle House and having your customers chained to the booth.
The big thing is they can really tolerate rent increases really well. And it pretty much works throughout America because there's so much need for affordable housing around.
That business model, a reliable stream of payments from captive tenants, is a big reason why these parks are so lucrative, providing investors with one of the highest annual returns of any asset in real estate. Higher than offices, commercial, industrial, you name it.
Hey, trailer park.
This is a financial play to them. They don't care about us. They've just as soon evict us, take our homes, and rent them out to somebody else for $200 a month.
Theo Gantos lives in a park near Flint, Michigan. 3 years ago, it was taken over by Homes of America, a an affiliate of the hedge fund Alden Global Capital. Alden Global is best known for buying newspapers across the country and stripping their assets.
Yeah, we had a pool, before the Homes of America. We still pay the same amount as though we had a pool and as though we had a community center, but we have no community center either.
Since 2021, Homes of America has gone on a buying spree, spending nearly $300 million to acquire 138 parks across 17 states. They've raised rents and aggressively evicted residents. After years of neglect, only about 15% of the lots in Theo's Park are still occupied.
And who is Homes of America? Homes of America is just a shell within a shell within a shell. Homes of America is Randy Smith.
Randall Smith is the founder and chief investment officer of Alden Global. He lives in Palm Beach, Florida. As of 2017, he owns 17 mansions. He has since sold 14 of them for a reported profit of $57 million.
Yeah, this is the plunder of private equity. This is what they do.
Okay, everybody ready? Everybody rolling? All right, good afternoon.
In August, the county prosecutor brought charges against Homes of America's local LLC for operating the park without a license. It's the first time that the owner of a manufactured housing park in Michigan has ever faced that criminal charge.
A key element in the North Morris Estate's inability to obtain a license is its seeming refusal to fix the park's water.
Water comes out like this. It kind of ruins your whole day.
Hopefully, we'll get the attention of the out-of-state corporation that owns this park and force its officers and directors to do the right thing for the residents of this community. It's clear to me this corporation is putting profits before people.
Honestly, the warrant should be to Randall Smith, CEO of Alden. But he's hidden himself behind multiple shell layers. So getting to him is hard.
These big companies buying up these communities now need some oversight. Because right now they're free to abuse residents in pretty much every way they want.
Holly Hook lives 30 minutes away at another park, owned by private equity firm Haven Park Communities. That's the same company that bought Madeline's Park, and it owns 63 other parks across the country. In the last 6 years, Haven Park has doubled Holly's housing costs. To avoid homelessness, she's had to take on 2 roommates. What power do you have right now in the existing legal structure to do anything about the rising rent or any of the fees?
There's absolutely no recourse right now. About a year after this started, it's like something just broke in me, and I started talking to some neighbors, saying we've got to gather and do something about this.
Residents were up in arms, and they started going to their local township council meetings and their city council meetings, and a few of them were able to make contact with a couple of state representatives, a Democrat named Senator John Cherry.
A lot of people from the district went up to him and told him about what Haven Park was doing, and that's what got him interested in drafting the bill package.
What the legislation tries to do in the broadest sense is to weed out the bad actors in the industry. What we're trying to do is make sure that folks don't get exploited. That's what this is about.
State Senator John Cherry is the sponsor of legislation that would protect residents from the worst abuses of predatory landlords. The bills were drafted in 2021 by a coalition of residents and advocates in direct negotiation with the landlord industry group.
It was a very collaborative process that actually included the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association.
The legislation would require landlords to justify any rent increase above the rate of inflation in front of the state commission. It would also limit the fees that landlords can charge, make utility charges transparent, require notification when a park is sold, and force landlords to pay fair market value for a home if a resident is evicted.
These are really modest protections, so it's not everything that we need right now. It's not going to set the rents back to what they were or anything like that, but it would start to make things more fair. It would just be a modest start.
In the state's last legislative session, the legislation passed the House with overwhelming bipartisan support.
The bill is passed.
But then something changed.
In the early part of 2022, the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association did a 180, pulled their support, and it died in the Michigan State Senate. When we look looked at the records, we did see that that coincided with the Michigan Manufactured Housing Association Political Action Committee suddenly getting some very big donations.
Over the course of the year, 2 Haven Park executives gave $358,000 to the industry PAC.
And that's right when the Manufactured Housing Association just totally pulled their support.
That money is some of the people that I know, that's their grocery money. That's their prescription copay. That's the medicine that they're doing without and the food that they're doing without because these people were gouging.
The most vulnerable residents in Michigan are being taken advantage of. And some people have to choose between rising rent, medications, and food.
In February, Holly, Theo, and other residents went to the state capitol to lobby for a new version of the bill package.
I'm testifying in support of Senate Bills 486 through 490. There's no free market when residents are trapped.
Its fate will be decided in the upcoming legislative session, this September and October.
We have overwhelming support from the Democrats in the House, and we have some Republicans who committed to support as well.
How many legislators would you say you met with?
I would say at least 100 of them. We've met with almost all of the Michigan Senate or their staff, and now we're starting to work on the House.
Manufactured housing communities are just one type of property that large investors have targeted in recent years. But these parks are ground zero in a fight that affects all of us. The fight for meaningful control of our neighborhoods and for housing that people from all walks of life can afford.
Everybody deserves drinkable water, and everybody deserves to have affordable housing. We just want a livable place.
Thanks so much for watching our video. If you'd like to see more stories like this, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel to get more perfect unions in your feed. And if you have ideas for other stories we should investigate, just drop them in the comments below.
The challenge that we have today is when I have a senior citizen call me and tell me she's peeing in the backyard because her water bill and her sewer bill doubled. And no one cares about that.
Across the country, private companies are swooping in to buy water and sewer systems from local governments that own them. The result for consumers? Skyrocketing bills more than double what they used to be, at a time when inflation is hitting Americans' wallets hard.
The motive for investment in utilities is profit, revenue, and that's what matters. It's not water quality. It's not reliability. It's not whether the customers are happy. It's not your neighbor. It's just the money-making machine.
They present their efforts as a win-win scenario to save taxpayers money and local governments financial room.
Aqua pitched it as free money. Money you can do anything you want to.
What really that is just a bait and switch technique. They promise the world and they deliver pain so the customers have to foot the bill into perpetuity.
And over the past decade, investor-owned corporations have successfully lobbied many state governments, like Pennsylvania, to make it easier and more attractive for local governments to market the sale. And when those companies come knocking in their town, many people don't know what's happening until it's too late.
It generally isn't done in broad daylight. Nobody's for it.
This is a story about the corporate takeover of one of our most important natural resources, the consequences for communities, and how an unlikely coalition of people are fighting to keep water public and affordable. In 2020, the township of New Garden, Pennsylvania sold their sewer system to Aqua Pennsylvania for nearly $30 million. Aqua Pennsylvania is a subsidiary of Essential Utilities, a publicly traded corporation that had more than $2 billion in revenue in 2023.
They basically came in and said, New Garden, we can give you this money. You can do your whatever projects you want to do with it. We'll take over your sewer system. We'll run it better than you have run it. And this will be basically a seamless transaction. There was very little in the way of hearings. Very few people knew about it. And quite frankly, very few people were even thinking about it.
We were told that it was a great deal because there was a rate freeze and a limit on how much the rates would go up after the rate freeze. That rate cap and growth rate was later eliminated before the sale was executed.
Everything looked about the same for maybe a about 6 months to a year. But all of a sudden, the rates they start to double and triple. And when people start to see the bills, they basically started to call Aqua to say, "Why is my bill so high?"
My June 2022 bill for 13,000 gallons was $234.27. My very next bill, this is when the rate increase had gone into effect, I used 1,000 gallons less, 12,000 gallons, and the bill was $413.33. You call Aqua's customer service line, can't help you, they don't know what's going on. People feel frustrated that nobody is taking responsibility for what has happened.
So why are Americans so interested in buying water and sewer systems now? In recent years, more and more states have passed industry-backed laws encouraging these sales. These are called fair market value laws, and in Pennsylvania, they passed one in 2016 known as Act 12.
For a long time, we've had concerns about small water systems in terms of their capacity to be compliant with all appropriate environmental and other regulations. So that became one of the rationales to try to stimulate the market for selling a water system and its assets to a provider that could perhaps bring expertise and capacity managing that system.
Act 12 created a process by which more factors than income, expected repairs, and future revenue are included in the value of the system. This usually results in a higher sale price.
As high as $1 billion was offered to Bucks County, for example.
In the case of New Garden, the amount offered was 6 times their annual budget. And they see this as, isn't this wonderful?
However, what happens is, who pays for that? Who pays for that are the ratepayers. They get to recoup those costs, and they're recouping significant costs.
Big water companies are making their money back more quickly by charging more for the service. And private systems are generally more expensive. A 2016 study of water rates in the U.S.'s 500 largest water systems found that people with private systems paid nearly 60% more for water. In Pennsylvania, it was 84%, adding up to more than $300 per year on average.
You don't really think about it until your system has been privatized and you get a bill that was twice what it was last time.
One of the tactics that they use is basically to say that the infrastructure that we have is very poor. If they took over, then they would do a better job managing the infrastructure.
If the purpose of Act 12 was to help failing systems, that hasn't happened in practice.
Let me also be clear. None of the acquisitions so far have met a criteria or threshold of being troubled systems under the Public Utility Code.
So far, there have been 21 systems bought under Act 12. The industry's top trade openly encourages local officials to sell financially stable systems.
They want to get well-run systems because it means that there's less money they have to put into it.
That's currently playing out with one of the biggest water systems in the Philadelphia area, known as the Chester Water Authority, or CWA. Aqua is trying to buy the water authority from the city of Chester, which declared bankruptcy in 2022 for $410. The board of the CWA says Chester doesn't have the right to sell it. Most of the utility's customers don't even live in the city, but the surrounding areas.
We've been operating quite successfully, quite reliably. We're an award-winning authority, best tasting water in Pennsylvania.
For local officials, selling a utility provides a revenue boost that can be used to pay down debts and invest in other services. But often, residents don't hear the full story.
The townships are failing their constituents in how they analyze. They see this sum of money and, it's wonderful, it's free, except it isn't free.
And once the local government sells their water or sewer system, the high cost and limited local government budgets mean it's almost impossible to buy back control of the system.
I have not heard anything about why Act 12 was necessary. It appears that it was lobbied for by Big Water. Big Water has a very effective lobby effort going
As lawmakers debated Act 12 in 2015 and 2016, Aqua spent over $500,000 lobbying the Pennsylvania legislature.
There's a lot of work that occurs to grease the skids, so to speak, talking to politicians, attending board meetings, presenting misinformation about what would happen if a company like Aqua comes in and takes over, and they try to garner favor through various means.
Investor-owned utilities have gained enormous political power in Pennsylvania over the last several decades. Mike Torzai was the Speaker of the Pennsylvania House when Act 12 was passed. The same year he retired from the legislature, he became the General Counsel for the Natural Gas Division of Essential Utilities, the corporation that owns the industry's top trade, the National Association of Water Companies, is run by Robert F. Powelson, a former Trump appointee and member of the Pennsylvania Public Utilities Commission. And the current chair of the commission, Steve DeFrank, was a lobbyist for Pennsylvania American Water and resigned from that job only a day after he was nominated for the commission. Over the past 3 years, Essential Utilities has donated nearly $175,000 to candidates across the country, including Pennsylvania, and they're lobbying against repeal or extensive reforms to Act 12.
I believe the changes to undo Act 12's benefits should carefully be considered. Anything to undo those benefits would result in systems like the ones we've purchased, or those that may still remain, to continue to fail in their service.
Frustrated by their high sewer bills, Bill and some of his neighbors started a group called Keep Water Affordable, and they testified at hearings and talked to people in other Pennsylvania towns about their experience.
If people fully understood the options open to them, I don't think there would be anywhere near the number of privatizations that have gone on.
Local opposition in Bucks County completed a $1 billion deal to sell one of the largest sewer systems in the state to Aqua. In Tallahassee, residents changed their town charter to try to stop the sale of the sewer system. Some state political leaders are also calling for changes to the system.
What we oppose is privatization for its own sake, and privatization and consolidation at any cost, or regardless of the cost to consumers.
The Pennsylvania legislature is debating a set of bills that its supporters hope will reduce the number of LE systems being bought and stop costly rate hikes for consumers. The Public Utility Commission is also considering reforms, but some say those moves don't go far enough.
I believe much of what we're doing today is because of the potential transfer of the Chesapeake Water Authority to Aqua. Would these bills stop that transaction?
I don't believe it would. I think we should repeal Act 12, and I have introduced legislation to do just that.
The other changes that would be considered that could not get repealed would be a much more open system of communication during the sale process and requiring a ratepayer referendum to approve the sale.
The Chester Water Authority's fate is now tied up in the courts. Its story could be a cautionary tale for people around the country about laws like Act 12 and corporate takeovers of public systems.
The message I think that I would like to give to ratepayers where there is talk of a takeover or purchase of their public utility system by an investor-owned utility, don't believe what they're saying. It's a bait and switch game, and the rates are going to skyrocket.
Thank you so much for watching our video. If you'd like to see more stories like this one, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel to get more Perfect Union in your feed. And if you have any ideas for stories that you would like for us to investigate, just drop them in the comments below.
In the world of big business, there is one woman who inspires great fear and awe.
I wanted to have you on a podcast, and Apple asked us not to do it.
The FTC is back in that role of torturing all the companies that are the likes.
The business community feels that the FTC is waging a war against us, and it's time to fight back.
That woman is 34-year-old chair of the Federal Trade Commission, Lena Khan. As FTC chair, Lena Khan has become public enemy #1 for the corporate establishment. But here's an interesting twist. She's also simultaneously managing to bring together an unlikely political alliance from both sides of the aisle.
You are a brilliant woman with a tremendous ability to impact how consumers are going to interface with the digital world.
One of the outstanding members of the Biden administration, that is Lena Khan.
I look at Lena Khan as one of the few people in the Biden administration that I actually think is doing a pretty good job.
So who is Lena Khan, and what is it about this young FTC chair that makes corporate America shake in their boots, all while uniting politicians like Matt Gaetz and Bernie Sanders? Many political bureaucrats who enter government service do so with the framework of wanting to be seen as fighting on partisan terms for their respective parties. They're often looking ahead to their next cushy job rather than worrying about being strong public advocates in their current roles. Unlike public servants of the past 4 decades, Khan entered with a very different framework. She's more interested in analyzing who has too much power and who doesn't have enough. She's not fighting a partisan game. Instead, she's focused on something that she's had her eyes on since she was a teenager, waging battles against powerful, predatory, multinational corporations that are exploiting working people. I was thinking back to 2004, young Lena Khan writes about Starbucks, the age of 15. Where did Lena Khan get so animated around the vision of wanting to address economic justice, particularly?
From an early age, I was interested in being a journalist, and one reason why I wanted to be a journalist was because, at their best, they hold power to account. After college, I ended up working for an organization where my job was instead to look at how different markets were structured. One of the first areas I did this work was in poultry farming. You have millions of consumers on one end, thousands of farmers on the other end, but they're connected just by a very small number of companies. And practically, that can mean that for a chicken farmer, their entire livelihood is just dependent on one company. And so that company has huge amounts of power over them. And so it was just a clear picture of how concentrated economic power, concentrated corporate power is ripe for abuse.
In 2012, Khan wrote a poignant article called Obama's Game of Chicken, in which she foretold the kind of public servant she would aspire to be, one who stood in sharp contrast to Obama's then legal enforcers at the Department of Justice. In this article, Khan was critical of Christine Varney, the head of the DOJ's antitrust division, for making compromises with power instead of taking them on in court. Varney's approach was simple and it mirrored the cautious political approach taken by government regulators for decades. Quote, if you overreach in the courts, you will lose, and the very behaviors you are calling illegal will be validated by the court. According to Varney, the government was unlikely to win against powerful poultry producers in court, and therefore she was unwilling to wage an uphill legal battle. And she had this to say about the apparently too big to touch corporations gaining a stranglehold over our economy.
You know, in America, we reward success. And I applaud the companies that have been very successful in the last decade, particularly the technology companies.
Like clockwork, Varney left Washington to join Cravath, a fancy corporate law firm in Manhattan. She now represents wealthy clients who are facing scrutiny from Biden's antitrust enforcers. Corporations such as Paramount, Epic Games, Imperial Sugar Company, and Illumina, to name just a few. 10 years after writing her article, Lena Khan was chosen by Joe Biden to head up the FTC and has since been making very different judgments on behalf of the public interest.
When we spot an illegal merger, we won't hesitate to act, because if we don't do our job, the American people will lose out.
By going to bat for people against predatory corporations that are stored in America, Lena Khan is animating a form of populism that transcends party lines. One that is not Democrat versus Republican, but corporate monopolists versus the people.
For most people, their day-to-day interaction with power is not necessarily with their government, but it's in our economy. And at a fundamental level, if we care about having real liberty for people, real democracy for people, we need to make sure that they're able to feel free, not just in our politics when they go to cast a vote, but also in our commercial sphere.
Khan is putting economic justice at the center of the FTC's policymaking, returning the agency to its roots, fighting monopolies and standing up against big business interests.
I mean, all the way back in 1890, you had lawmakers talking about how the railroad monopolies and the great trusts in the sugar industry and the steel industry were abusing their power in ways that was bad for workers, that was bad for farmers, and they said we need these antitrust laws to protect Americans from concentrated economic power. There have been tools on the our government has not used aggressively, assertively. This administration has made clear that we are breaking from that past and from that history. And we're going to use all of the tools and authorities that we have to do our job.
And use all the tools they have, industry after industry. Instead of focusing on just one area of the economy to enrich, Khan has chosen to go to battle with big pharma, big oil, big ag, military-industrial complex, giant semiconductor chip companies, housing companies, big tech, credit card companies, mega grocery chains, auto dealers, private equity firms, and on and on and on. To understand the power of these enforcement actions, let's dig a little bit deeper. Take big pharma.
The modern inhaler wasn't invented in the 1950s, but in America today, millions of Americans still pay hundreds of dollars just to get an inhaler that they rely on to be able to breathe. Our team took a closer look and we realized that the inhaler companies, in some cases, had been claiming bogus patents for parts of the inhaler that really shouldn't have been patented. So we sent them letters challenging those patents, saying that those patents were unfairly blocking out competition, blocking out generic, cheaper options. And in response, a whole set of companies ended up delisting their patents and announcing that starting in June, they're going to cap how much any American pays for an inhaler to $35.
Pharma is hardly alone. From drug prices to junk fees, those unnecessary charges on ticket prices and airfares that seemingly come out of nowhere, Helena Khan has used her rulemaking authorities to save Americans money whenever and wherever she has the authority to do so.
Junk fees cost Americans over $90 billion a year. Money that corporations are extracting from Americans just because they can.
She's even gone after those pesky subscriptions that often keep you paying long after you stop using a service.
We've seen too many times companies make it so easy to sign up, but then when you try to cancel, you have to go in person, you have to make a phone call, but there's nobody there to pick up. And as a result, Americans end up paying tens of dollars or hundreds of dollars a month stuck in subscriptions they no longer want.
Another way Lena Khan is making her mark, she's using antitrust to protect workers. Earlier this year, Khan instituted a rule banning non-compete agreements in employee contracts, which could raise workers' wages by nearly $300 billion per year.
Right now, workers are stuck in place because of these non-competes. And so even if they get a better job opportunity with higher wages, with better benefits, they can't actually switch jobs.
In using her litigation power, she has sued to block what could be the largest supermarket merger in U.S. history, Kroger's $24.6 billion acquisition of Albertsons.
The commission alleged that the deal would be bad for shoppers, but also would be bad for unionized workers who in the past had used the competition between Kroger and Albertsons to actually get more bargaining leverage when they were negotiating a contract.
But perhaps the biggest claim to fame is her battle with big tech, a battle she's waged since law school when she wrote a widely cited paper called Amazon's Antitrust Paradox. As the country's top antitrust enforcer, Khan has gone after Silicon Valley's biggest tech giants.
The Federal Trade Commission in 17 states are suing Amazon, claiming it operates an illegal monopoly. Zuckerberg in court today for a hearing surrounding the FTC's antitrust suit against the company.
OpenAI is facing a new complaint filed with the FTC today over the company's popular ChatGPT product.
There is enormous opportunity here for a vibrant market, but we also see risk. We see risk of consolidation. We see risk of monopolization.
As her critics love to point out, not all of the legal battles Khan has waged have been successful. But unlike her predecessors, Khan hasn't taken the play-it-safe approach that worries simply about her record in court. It's about proving that there are people in government who have the courage to wage tough battles in ways that have not been seen in recent history.
People all too often are being pitted against massive corporations that have a lot of power and that feel they can use that power to bully people, to coerce people, to steal from them. And the government's supposed to be on the side of the people and enforce the laws to protect them.
Khan has been so steadfast in her approach to litigation that the FTC is now having a deterrent effect, which means that countless corporations are not even attempting to engage in mergers and acquisitions out of fear that their proposed combination will be deemed illegal.
What we hear from senior lawyers and corporate executives is that back in the day, if they were proposing a merger, they wouldn't really think about antitrust risk until the very end, if at all. But now, antitrust is being discussed right at the beginning of when a deal is even being considered. And as a law enforcer, our goal has to be to deter illegal behavior to begin with.
All of these actions have made Lena Khan a frequent target of the CEO class in America. Just take a look at the pages of the Wall Street Journal. In those op-ed pages, you'll find more than 100 articles attacking her in just the past few years. As of January, the Journal had run an average of one piece every 10 days attacking her. Big business has been gunning for Lena to be fired. And they pounced quickly once Kamala Harris became the Democratic Party's presumptive nominee for president.
I do think that Lena Khan is a person who is not helping America in her job and what she's doing. And so I would hope that Vice President Harris would replace her.
But I will say Jonathan Kainer in the end, Attorney General, he goes, Khan goes, these people go.
A number of prominent Democrats have been lobbying Harris to drop people like Lena Khan. Do you think that it's going to happen? And would you lobby for that?
Yeah, I would.
You would?
Yeah, I think she's a dope.
Still, Khan remains undeterred. We've got a whole bunch of conservative actors who want to raise a fuss because, quite frankly, they seem to know that the things that you are doing impact bottom lines and affect their power. Can you be bullied?
Absolutely not. This is a job that Congress has given us, and it's no surprise that when you try to enforce the anti-monopoly laws assertively and in a way that's faithful to what Congress told us to do, monopolies are going to fight back.
Lena Khan is revamping antitrust and reminding the people who the FTC was created to fight for and against. She speaks softly while carrying a big stick. With her courage and dedication, Khan has put forth a model for how government officials should use their time and authority while they're serving in public office.
I mean, the problems that Americans are facing in their day-to-day lives are so urgent, are so painful, and we really owe it to them to use everything we have to try to fight for them and protect them when the law is on their side.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. And if you ever have any ideas for what purpose we should cover next, please drop them in the comments.
If you're a pet owner, you've probably been noticing that your vet bills have become more and more expensive over the years. But it's even worse than you might think. The cost of vet care has gone up by 60% in the last decade. That's double the rate of inflation in the same time period. When you consider that more than 60% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck,
60%, 60%.
is it even possible to own a pet anymore? Now this all really hit home for me personally when my dog Utah got sick. Aside from chasing frisbees, my lovable 8-year-old cattle dog loved food. So when I noticed that she wasn't interested in eating, I knew something was very wrong. I took her to the vet, and after some tests and x-rays, they told me that she had fluid in her chest and that it was critical. So I rushed her to an emergency hospital called Pearl, where they ran even more tests and x-rays. But with no clear diagnosis, the only definitive thing they gave me was the bill. $3,258 that I had to pay on the spot. Now, that didn't even include the surgery that she might need, which would cost thousands of dollars more. This was the beginning of a 6-month journey trying to save our dog's life, taking her to different vets and spending thousands of dollars in the process. We were desperate to help her, but I also started feeling a little bit exploited, and I know many Americans are going through the same things.
I just got financially assaulted by my dog's vet.
The veterinary industry is a racket.
Animal health care is a scam.
When I started looking into it, I found endless complaints of vet bills through the roof, unexpected charges, and people feeling like they had no choice but to pay up.
Veterinary medicine is the gold rush of 2024.
I call it the rise of big vet. These massive private equity firms are buying up veterinary clinics in the hundreds all across the United States. We talked to veterinarians and journalists to find out exactly why your vet bill has gotten so high and how the same forces are coming for everything from your dentist to your favorite sports team. Americans weren't always obsessed with pampering our furry friends. Early pet ownership was for more practical purposes. Think more barnyard cat and less Barney. But as cities grew, so did our affection for pets. And over the past few decades, as families grew smaller and people got lonelier, pets became part of the family. Pet ownership in America has exploded in recent years. 94 million households now have pets, with 23 million of those adopted during the pandemic. And it's big business. Americans spent $38 billion on pet health care last year, with costs climbing about 10% a year. This is financial journalist Helene Olin. The thinking is that people will do anything for their pets, and that they will spend any amount of money that it takes. And this is in part where private equity and corporations, again, come in to the veterinary business. They see people who will pay the bill no matter what. She says as pets have become humanized, their care did as well. 25 years ago, if your cat needed an MRI, it was often hard to find. There were a few doctors doing it here and there, but you didn't really see it. It wasn't that common. Now, it's an extremely common procedure, and that's in part also because of the rise of big vet. Like me, she found out about all this and wrote about it after her dog got sick, her late poodle Katie. I get a diagnosis that my beloved dog is dying in the heart of that awful winter of the pandemic. I got the list of recommended cardiologists, right? And I look, and I see everything seems to be BCA, Blue Pearl. I was distraught, but there was part of me that's thinking, gee, why am I getting all the names of these chains? Aren't there independent cardiologists? This is a little strange. The vet at BCA put Katie on a $300 a month medication that did end up extending her life. But boy, that price tag was tough to swallow. So was what Helene found out next. BCA, for Dogs Clinic, wasn't even owned by vets. It's owned by Mars, the candy company behind Skittles, M&Ms, and Snickers that has a net sales of $50 billion a year. They own various clinics and hospitals, as well as pet food and products. The Mars family also happens to be one of the wealthiest in the country. BCA is Blue Pearl is Banfield, and they're owned by Mars. They are the largest owner of vets in the United States. They have over 2,000 veterinary clinics. The second largest is another family-owned group, JAB, based in Europe. They own NVA, National Veterinary Associates, and Peace Coffee, Einstein Bagels, Panera, and your dog and cat. Over the last decade, massive corporations and private equity firms have been taking over vet care at an alarming rate, owning up to 50% of clinics and up to 75% of emergency hospitals. They're also snapping up pet insurance companies and even pet food brands. Among the companies with ties to private equity are PetSmart, Pet Vet Care Centers, Vigo, Thrive Pet Healthcare, even ASPCA Pet Health Insurance. This made me wonder, why does Wall Street find pet care so appealing? They see steady money in this business. For private equity, they see a business where they can cut costs or control costs, while bringing in cash, and then sell to a bigger player within the next 4 to 6 years. Or at least that's the hope. Now that's not just the hope, that's the business model. It's part of something called a roll-up strategy. Private equity buys up practices one by one until they amass dozens. And the idea is to buy them so that you control more practices and ultimately, hopefully, flip them to a bigger player. Because private equity, unlike, say, family ownership and independent ownership, is not in it for the long haul. During the pandemic, interest rates were low and borrowing money was cheap. So companies borrowed lots of money and bought up lots of clinics and hospitals. It's about at this time that you start seeing veterinary prices start really surging. And of course, this is during the pandemic when people are also getting more pets, like they're at home with their pets. And what impact has that had on vet care and vet clinics? It affects it like it affects anything in the healthcare sector. Corporations consolidate so that they have greater pricing power. So you can raise prices higher, you can cut back on quality of service if that's how you feel you're going to need to make more money. In other words, pricing goes up and quality goes down.
And it's not so great for the people working in veterinary care either.
I wanted to be a vet ever since I was 5 years old.
This is Melissa Azell, a vet at a small animal clinic in Alabama.
So, Melissa, why did you decide to become a vet? I've always loved animals, dogs and cats especially. I wanted to be able to be part of a profession where I felt like I was making a difference.
Melissa worked at Banfield, a corporate pet hospital, and then at an independent clinic in Alabama that was bought up by National Veterinary Associates, owned by a private equity firm called JAB. Soon after it was bought, she said she started noticing some big differences in how it was run.
There's a lot of people in those management positions who don't even have any experience in the veterinary field. When I was working for Banfield, one of our regional managers had worked for a Walgreens pharmacy, and that was the closest experience that she had with veterinary medicine.
Melissa says she and her team also started feeling pressure to increase profits. They had a set number of patients with an allotted time for appointments. They worked with less staff for longer hours, and the company required their patients to have treatment plans.
Sometimes they will put a lot of things in the plans that aren't totally necessary. It's not something that you can opt out of. There are things that, in theory, might you catch some things earlier than you would have otherwise? Sure. But does every single puppy that comes into a clinic need a DNA test? No.
And the same thing with standardized protocols.
To Canada and actually makes things worse for Canadians. And it's just an out of nowhere. Like, the guy just woke up and he just decided to make up his mind and do that. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Oh, hey, fuck you!
Yeah, I don't want to be commenting further. And it's still
Krzyczą dobra, no to...
Alex,
What the fuck? I just joined.
This is just
hello, how are you, King?
and absolutely.
Hey, what's up?
bitch.
What up, bro?
Hey, what's up, Cook?
Fucking damn A-Raz pisses me off.
Yeah, that's what they sounded like.
So I was like, all hail Jesus Christ.
What did they say?
They were just being assholes, trying to get me riled up. They were just like, fuck you, and this and that. I'm in Kuwait, and you must be American kind of shit. I just didn't say nothing, man. I'm not into getting eaten. I mean, you gotta do better than that. You're gonna get me fucking... You're gonna ruin my day from some Arab over a video game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just joined the last minute. Lots of those Arab countries kind of suck, though, hey? They're pretty shitty.
Oh, yeah, they're all trash, bro. That's why I was just like... I'm gonna X Bill on round 20 because you suck. Don't even know what Ether Shroud was. They're like, what's that? I'm like, oh gosh.
They didn't even know.
I'll run one with you, but you gotta give me a couple minutes.
Oh, good. Okay.
Alright, I'll be right back.
Alright. I gotta do something too.